Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Geeky Geezers, and I guess the geezette down there at the bottom there.
Absolutely. But Boomer, please, this is your show. I intend for you to lead. Would you stop stepping on my toes during the opening dance?
Yeah, you guys don't know. We got to do a dance between each stream. I told Netter,
You
may
forgot the
I
tutu.
said to Troy, may I cut in? But Netter didn't expect me to take Troy's hand. See?
Exactly right. Exactly right. Let's face it, that opening music, that's for dancing too. That's
Exactly.
you know.
Oh, we do have a first super chat of the night. Well,
Yes,
thank you so
he
much,
comes
Virginia.
in and loudly. You didn't need to drop a $5 tip on us to say it, because you absolutely claimed your position as first with the first comment there. CluuStudios, thank you so much for supporting the channel. You're the first on my channel though. Big Al's is the first over on Age of Boomers channel. Hello, my friends. Have a great stream tonight.
And nobody's on mine. No one loves me.
No.
Guys, check out Netter. Give her a like at the very least.
No. In fairness, remember, when we go live, you guys all get the notifications. And a lot of you guys are probably subscribing to all three of us, so you're getting 3 notifications. But if you're just subscribing to Netter, you might just be a little slow getting to your, something's gone live.
That's fine. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how many people have tonight. Big 4th of July coming up this week, so people may be traveling.
That
I don't
is
know.
true. That is true.
DJ Play Nice Rock, thank you. D Penzek, welcome. Good evening, Geeky Geezers.
Yes, thank you so much.
Uh,
Mel New York Reviews. Hello, happy
hosting. Thank
Sunday
you.
to everyone. Happy Sunday to you as well. Unless you're the other side of the international date line, in which case, happy Monday.
Now, you do realize, I don't know if you forgot this, Troy, but on Friday you had agreed
Mhm.
to do a exclusive Rumble karaoke night at some point.
Yes, I did, and I'm trying to think out the logistics of that. I might have to reach out to Deleted Scenes and just ask him exactly what the mechanics of that are. It took me a while just to figure out Cosme to do movie rewatches. Now I got to figure out how to do a karaoke stream.
Welcome, Zootopia. I believe you had texted me this week informing me of the possibility of Zendaya as our next Bond woman. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
I mean, I don't really have a problem with that, but
I feel like she does resting bitch face, and maybe I'm being mean.
In fairness, there's been a number of Bond girls that could apply to.
That's true. So it would
and not all of them have been stellar actresses. I mean, certainly not of Zendaya's acting talent. I'm being sarcastic.
We did have Denise Richards though as a nuclear scientist, as Michael had to point out. Even though I still say "World Is Not Enough" is a good Bond movie. Stop picking on it. I think it's one of the best of the Brosnan era.
I'm just glad that they are choosing a female to be the next James Bond woman and not Pedro Pascal. Just saying.
To be fair, funny. To be fair, there's not been casting yet, so we don't know. These are just rumors floating around based on choice of director, which we will be talking about
right
tonight.
Exactly.
The director has been announced. Hey, Mrs. Netter. Oh, funny. There we go. Let me see. Of course, Netter of Netter's Network. Thank you. Lester Skeptic, Tank Obsession. Welcome. Relaxing on a usually church taxing Sunday. Well, Sundays that's a church day.
Absolutely.
Zootopia. Did I get everybody else here?
Clue said Denise Richards is hot. I was going to correct him and say she was, but I thought about it and I'm like, no, she still is. That's true.
I prefer Sydney Sweeney for the next Bond. She could be Bond himself for all I care. Yes, she just
I know.
I don't understand Hollywood. It's like they're not wanting to cast her because they know the male audience wants her. I don't get it.
Did you say hi to Lady Mist?
I did not. But welcome here, Lady Mist.
Hello, Lady Mist. Hello.
All right. So I hope we're sounding okay. But usually before we go into the news,
we need a sound check.
We're going to talk. I think we're okay. But you sound fine to me. That's all I'm saying.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
But
Bingo.
Oh, user and G. Welcome.
usually we go into the good old days. So, but apparently
We're not
Troy
gonna
does
do
not
that?
know much about this subject. Am I right?
I know it's a file format that I've used, but I don't really understand these file formats.
Different DivX. This is not the DivX that we use now. This was the DivX from the mid to late 90s. Okay? So I will talk about DivX for good old days. There are better chances of an alpha
That
female.
was the video platform, right?
Yes, we're going to get into
Okay,
it.
okay.
Oh, what does Lester say? At this point, there is better chances to land an alpha female and alpha male based on polls currently used by.
You know, that's not that far off. And Geek Flag with Nate knows. Hello, my fellow old farts and lovely netter.
So, we've had brief conversations on this. At some point on a Friday night, we may have to dedicate a stream to educating Troy about the 90s because he was busy with other more important things and taking part in, well, an interesting decade. You must have watched Star Trek, though, because that was on in the 90s.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But there was a lot of things, like you don't know what DivX is. I don't think you know. Introducing DivX.
I've used the file format, and I've had to deal with the fact that, some players wouldn't respond to it, and sometimes you would have to convert, and so I knew about that. I just knew it was a format that I didn't choose to use. It was only when something was only available in DivX did I ever use this damn format.
Interesting. Okay, so maybe you do know a little bit about this because DivX apparently has been used by other companies. Like apparently it's a video format now that has nothing to do with the other one. I heard it when we were growing. I don't know what you're saying. Anyway, introducing DivX, the best way to watch movies at home. What are you talking about? A best way to watch movies at home? This came around the same time as DVD. And look at that. Look at those players. You got a big cathode ray tube TV.
I remember those.
Yeah. And, Circuit City was busy pushing DivX. Look at this young gentleman. I actually stayed here and watched the DivX education program, how to kind of sell this to the customer base. So you're probably wondering what DivX is, right? What was DivX back in the 90s?
I'm getting the impression that it was a format that was, that it was a format like DVD. Is that right?
Kind of, yes. But here's what it is.
But you could then save a file to a DivX format on your computer.
Nothing like that's I believe what you're thinking of is something that came out later and used the same name, DivX, because DivX unfortunately it didn't make it. But let me get into what DivX was.
Okay.
So you get a DivX player. And, the DivX players also play DVDs, and you go into your Circuit City and you pick one up. Now, granted, they cost twice as much as a DVD player because Circuit City was very confident that people would just jump on to DivX. This was known as a new way for renting movies. Instead of going down to the video store, honestly, you go down to the video stores, you have to deal with those pesky, if you're overdue or, you have to pay a late fee.
Yeah.
You get a DivX disc. It only starts, you get to have it for 2 days. The video will play for 2 days, 48 hours, and it only starts as soon as you start playing it. And then you stick the disc. It's only $4.50. Stick it in your player, let it play, and then you can watch it as many times in a 48-hour period, at which points the disc doesn't work anymore. But if you want to rent it again, or you can call up the DivX line, and they'll do an encoding on it, and for another $3.50 you can watch the disc again for another 2-day period. And if you really want, if you feel like you're going to watch this disc over and over again, for an upcharge to a silver DivX disc, you can basically watch as many times as you want for like an extra $15. Okay.
Oh my God!
So no, what are you sighing for? I'm trying to.
Sounds like a ridiculous. and so I'm guessing the option is this disc after 48 hours. If you don't re-up it, it's just basically a coaster.
Okay, so you're wondering, what am I going to do with this disc? Well, for starters, you don't necessarily want to watch your movie over and over and over again. I mean, how many times are you going to watch? Let's look at one of the movies available. Blown Away. I mean, you might watch that once, right? So you can keep it. You can give it to a friend who you can if you don't want to keep the disc and you're worried about the environment, you can bring it back to your local DivX retailer and put it in the DivX recycling container, and they'll re-up it.
Which
And
just
sell it
went to
somebody
the
else.
garbage anyway. Just to make
Okay,
me
you know
feel better.
something? Didn't I? Okay, let me get into this. I'm going to explain to you how this format works. I'm getting this information from Wikipedia,
Okay,
though I did
before
watch
you
the
do
sales
that,
video.
though,
Yes.
let me wish Mark and his lovely wife a very happy 28th anniversary.
Woo-hoo!
Congratulations, Mark. Looking forward to seeing you you guys really soon.
It's a pity,
probably
Mark.
within the next week.
Pity DivX didn't make it. You could have been getting your wife a DivX player for your anniversary player. And it also plays DVDs, you know. Like if you really have to watch a movie over and over again, you know, that's why you buy your DVD. Okay, but this is just if you want to rent it. This is like the new way to rent movies, okay?
Yeah, Clue, it does sound a lot like DVD RW, yeah.
Let's move on to look at that player, huh? Look at that beast. And those are the little DivX discs. They look more like CD discs. As you can see, they have the shorter cases. And let me explain to you how this works. So DivX was a rental format variation on the DVD player, which customer would buy a DivX disc similar to a DVD for a price of United States $4.50, which was watchable for up to 48 hours from initial viewing. Viewers who wanted to watch a disc and a limited number of times could convert the disc to a DivX silver disc for an additional fee. Each DivX disc was marked with a unique barcode in the burst cutting area that could be read by the player and used to track discs. The status of the disc was monitored through an account over a phone line. DivX player owners had to set up an account with DivX to which additional viewing fees could be charged. The player would call an account server over the phone line to charge for viewing fees, similar to the way DirecTV and Dish Network satellite systems handle pay-per-view. In addition to the normal content scramble system, CSS encryption, DivX discs use triple DES encryption and an alternative channel modulation coding scheme, which prevented them from being read in standard DVD players. So don't be bringing this over to a standard DVD player. This has to be played on a DivX player. Most of the discs will be manufactured by United Kingdom-based Nimbus City International. These players differ from DVD players with the addition of a security IC chip powered by ARM RISC and manufactured by VLSI that controlled the encode decode of the digital content. Am I selling you yet on this? Let's go on.
No. Wait a minute, though. I did want to point this out to you, Boomer. I don't think it would... I don't know that it's going to show up quite yes. right for the fans at home. But yes. You know how when I put up a link... and it comes up with that little scary face you don't like here in EV month?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Enigma Severus said, "Here we go," and it was a string of O's. Well, apparently a certain number of O's makes a floppy fish emote icon.
What's that supposed to mean? This was a dead fish? Is that what you're comparing DivX to?
No. It was unintentional on Enigma's point. He just said GOOO, and I'm just pointing out that EV Mux made it into some sort of an icon. So something else for you to be put off by. Like I seem to be put off a little bit by this DivX thing.
I don't know why you're putting
Is it a Zenith? Yes, it is. That is a Zenith machine.
It should be a Zenith. That was probably one of the brands that
it is. This one right here is a Zenith. Yes.
Quiet you. It's funny. I remember I used to have a manager that worked at at a certain clothing retail chain, discount clothing retail chain, and the manager there left to work at Circuit City. And I met him one time, and I said, "Hey, how's that DivX?" "Oh, DivX is great." He was trying to sell me on a DivX player because he was now a sales manager over at Circuit City. Circuit City were the main, by the way, retailer that pushed this. Good Guys and Ultimate Electronics retailers also pushed it. Format was promoted to consumers. They called them consumers in the promotion video rather than customers. I always love that. As an alternative to traditional video rental schemes with the promise of no return, no late fees. Though consumers could just discard a DivX disc after the initial viewing period, several DivX retailers maintain DivX recycling bins on their premises. Yes, so they care about the environment.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so there was some opposition to this format when it came out.
I think I know what you're gonna.
Almost immediately after the format's reveal, a movement on the internet was initiated against DivX. This is early on in the internet, at least early on when it became after it had kindly become popular and people like me were going online and reading websites and forums and stuff. Particularly home theater forums by existing owners of the then still nascent DVD format. Remember, DVD was still pretty young at this point, and we thought it was a great thing because you could go out and buy a DVD disc priced to own. And then you could just put it in your DVD player and watch it as many times as you want and own the movie. It was weird.
Right.
Because VHS tapes, I'm sorry, they would degrade over time. The more you use them, the more they degrade.
Yeah, especially when there was just this one scene that you kept watching over and over and over again.
Phoebe Cates rising out of the pool.
Yes, yes, exactly right.
Anyway, broader groups of consumers had environmental concerns with the format since the advertised no returns model. A disc would be discarded as waste once the initial user was done with it, rather than being reused as they were under the traditional rental model. Yeah, because if you rent a video from Blockbuster, you just bring it back. Both companies that created the DVD format, Sony and Toshiba, also denounced DivX. Yeah, they were not happy, as did major studio distributor Warner Home Video. Warner Home Video was against this. But there were other companies that were for the DivX format. DreamWorks, 20th Century Fox, Paramount Pictures, and also Disney.
Pause
Disney
right there.
Big.
What do you notice about the companies that were for and the companies that were against?
I don't know. They were invested in the format?
The ones that were against it were the DVD format,
yes,
that were invested in the DVD format. The ones that were for it were the studios.
Yes, because Warner Brothers
tells you all you need to know about the market.
Yeah, Warner Brothers was big on DVD because they had invested a lot of money in DVD. Meanwhile, and I swear, I don't know why Disney isn't listed here. I know for a fact, and I can see by this list, Disney was big on DivX. I think Disney was salivating at DivX because, let's be honest here, what is DivX but basically forcing customers to become renters rather than owners of media?
Exactly. And it's a little bit like your what are those pass card things you're talking about with the games, where you have a physical thing but it's not the physical thing. It's somewhere in the middle. It's like I always say, either crap or get off the pot. Either don't give us anything and it's a rental and we agree to it, or just sell us the thing and hands off.
Well, no, but you don't understand. You get to own the DivX disc that you can watch for 48 hours. And then eventually, if you want, you can upgrade.
Something happens with the format and you suddenly have a problem and DivX goes out of business and you go, wait a minute, I lost the license or I lost the whatever. Sorry, we can't help you anymore.
Did you know that this player had to dial a number over the phone? It would dial like a number to check in like each night. Like, don't
exactly.
Like at 1 a.m, it'll call up, but won't interrupt your phone line. Won't be getting any calls then.
And what happens, just like with streaming or your PlayStation, what happens if the internet is out and it says, nope, sorry, you can't watch this movie.
Maybe, yes. I believe we had a Sony.
I'm seeing a lot of problems here. I mean, I'm basically seeing a lot of reasons why this did not catch on and it died.
I believe we had a Sony on our DVD. Yeah, Sony made a great DVD player. I had bought a Pioneer DVD player and crapped out of me. I think I got a Panasonic later on. When I finally just settled down and I'm like, I'm just going to get a Sony this time. Sony player still works to this day. I mean, I haven't used it in a while, but it would not die on me. That's why the DivX I used was more a treasure. Oh, that's interesting. But this, I mean, you could still play your DVDs if that's what you prefer. There's Pulp Fiction, see? By the way, the movies in this format, they were pan and scan. They were not like widescreen. How like a lot of DVDs were pushed.
There's another reason to hate this. This is not a Criterion format. This is not a, this is how I want to save it and watch it for the rest of my life.
Come on, you want some nerd having the bars on the top and bottom, or you just want to, watch a movie like you used to with the VHS?
Well, with the modern TVs, you don't have that bar. See, that's the problem. You can have it in a cinematic format. Yes. And now, I mean, it's almost as bad as watching it on commercial television, edited for your TV or whatever. It's like,
I disagree. You get a nice plastic coaster when you're done that you can use.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And then you're also kind of losing out on some of the artwork here. The CD format as opposed to the DVD, clamshell. No.
This is discounted, by the way. This right here, this RCA, because
Holy crap!
No, these were more expensive than $349.99. They came out as twice as much as DVD players, and DVD players weren't exactly cheap when they came out.
This looked a headache, and it was twice as much as DVD. Screw
they
this.
thought people were going to jump on this. Circuit City was heavily invested. Circuit City had put,
What genius thought this twice as much was going to be so awesome that people would pay twice as much for it?
I think Circuit City put $100 million. No, my mistake. They had a loss of $114 million after taxes on this. Investing in DivX. This thing failed. By the way, and Paramount would not allow their movies to be converted to the silver format where you could watch as many times as you want. Paramount said, no, we're not doing that, which kind of got rid of the thing where they
Paramount
said...
still supported the DVD format.
Paramount was slow. A lot of these companies were slow. I remember DVD early on. There were companies holding out. Disney was holding out. They didn't want to do DVD. I remember, I think finally it was the fall of 1999 where they begrudgingly started releasing movies on DVD. Like we got Pinocchio came out on DVD. I remember that. That was a big deal.
And
it was a non-special edition too, just the bare bones.
And Disney has not learned its lesson yet. They still don't want to put things out on home media. They still want to keep it behind a paywall. And they're going friggin' bankrupt, for crying out loud. Where every other company has realized, hey, this is another revenue stream for us.
Did you know that Disney was known for a lot of those big clamshell home video releases they did for like their popular movies? They were known for using the cheapest VHS tapes they could buy that would wear out quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why I think they were very hostile to the idea of DVD when it initially came out. But there you go. This guy was always, pushing DivX on the commercials. See this guy? DivX movies cost $4.49, and if you don't want it, you can sell them at a garage sale. People want to buy this thing that doesn't have a movie on it. I'm sorry,
right?
It has a movie on it. No, it has a movie on it, but the encryption is so bad. Like people cannot play them now. If you have one of these discs now, you will not find anything that can play it. Hollywood is dying a self-inflicted wound. Well, to be fair though, not all studios were in favor of this. Sony hated this, and so did Warner Brothers. I was on their side during this. I hated DivX. I was terrified that people were going to be stupid. They were going to buy this format. The movies weren't widescreen. You couldn't own them. I thought they would look at the $4.49 thinking, this a bargain. But that didn't happen actually. This thing failed, and it failed miserably. And that's why I'm calling this the good old days. It is not the good old days of DivX. It is the good old days of when customers knew they were getting ripped off and said no.
You know what? That's actually brilliant. I didn't catch that until you said that. Now it makes sense. Okay.
That's why this is the good old days, because I'm trying to be fair nowadays, but when I see people lining around the block to buy a certain game system recently that, in my opinion, has not proven itself at all, and I think back to these days when they were trying to push junk, this is anti-customer. This whole DivX. How complicated is it to want to watch a movie?
I know, yeah.
You have to have your phone dial it up, and then to watch it for another 48 hours, you have to pay another $3, and it's like, this is nickel and diming you. Now they're tricking you with the $4.49. But what would happen was if this had caught on and DVD had failed, then that $4.49 would turn into $5.49, $6.49. They would just keep jacking up the price for something that you don't own.
Exactly right. Yes, I see exactly what you're saying.
They want us to be renters.
Brilliant.
Circuit City. Remember Circuit City?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is my dream, and this might be longer than a good old days. This might be a Friday stream topic. Circuit City horror stories. Circuit City is long gone. No, I've read. This isn't. According to the guy that I was watching videos on, this the one guy said no. DivX was bad, but this is not what ultimately destroyed Circuit City. It was a lot of other horrible decisions they made over the years that killed their chain store. Because I used to see them as like a competitor for Best Buy. Remember?
Yeah, they kind of were for a long time. And you know what? One thing I will give them credit for was their marketing, because to this day I still remember their, I don't know if you'd call it a jingle or whatever. Welcome to Circuit City, where service is state of the art.
I remember
And
that.
it's like,
yes.
I've always said, you convince a customer that they're getting service, they will pay more for service. Service covers over a multitude of sins. Now, I didn't go to Circuit City often. I didn't go to Best Buy often.
Right.
So I don't know what their service was like. But as a consumer, you know, if I was thinking about going to one of their shops, I'd think, well, I'll give them a try. They say, you know, it's good customer service. I'll go check and see if that's true. You know?
Well, I can tell you that Best Buy, at least if I needed to return something, had great customer service.
Oh, that's something. That's something, yeah.
Because a lot of companies make it so hard to return something that's defective.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like I have a thing that I'm going through right now. I had ordered some fake miniature flowers for my fairy garden. And instead of getting my flowers, I got a watch repair kit. It's like, I didn't order this. I ordered flowers. So I contacted their customer service. Now, there were 5 different colored flowers on this order. So it was like blue one, red one, 2 different yellow colors, and a pink one. And when I put in the thing saying, hey, can you do something about this? They gave me a refund on one of the flowers. So I had to keep going back to them to try and get the refund for the rest.
Well, not only that,
that's bad customer service.
I mean, what I do find funnier is, yes, apparently we got a refund for all this, but there's somebody out there who ordered a watch repair kit and got some little flowers, and they're like, "What the hell am I going to do with this? I still can't wear my watch."
It's ridiculous.
And I know it was a man because it was a man-sized watch band.
Male style, yeah, exactly.
Circuit City sucked, horrible service. I remember my wife walking me out of one when I went off. The manager over a defective PC they didn't want to take care of. Yeah,
okay,
no, I mean, I'm telling you.
That's fair. I mean, no, I didn't, like I said, I didn't shop there, so I didn't know, you know. I would have had to have gone through that experience and then gone, I'll never frickin' go there again, because there are a number of stores that I will never go to again because I received terrible service from them.
I think one of the last things I bought at a Circuit City was the Nintendo Wii. That was I think sometime in February, March, because the Wii kept selling out everywhere. And then I think I'd called up and I asked, do you guys have any Wiis in the Circuit City? We just got some in this afternoon. We got like 5 of them. If you get down here, you'll get one. So I went down there and got one. But yeah.
Did you ever have someone say, yeah, I got a Wii, but I don't go on break for another hour?
That's funny. That should have been the response. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
That happened to me before I realized what happened. Oh, okay. Sorry, that might have been. Anyways, that's Circuit City. I'm not saying this put them out of business, but I just have these lovely pictures. We will go into greater discussion of Circuit City someday, because frankly, they're.
I was just going to say, maybe we don't get into the format wars. We should probably talk Circuit City and the tech store wars.
Oh yeah, we won't bother with we won't bother bringing up DivX too much if we do this again. But yeah, at Circuit City. Oh, they were famous too for the bait and switch and the ads too. They love doing that.
I hate that.
They advertise something and it's not in what's in the ad isn't there, and you get their opening on Sunday morning. I'm sorry, it has to be there. If you have something in your ad, it has to be there. At least
I understand if you have a limited quantity and the guy in front of me got it. My problem would be if I show up at the store and I'm the first one in the store and it's not there, I'm like, foul.
Yeah. You put it in the ad, it has to be there.
They're like, we didn't get our shipment in yet. It's expected sometime this morning.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely unacceptable. Yeah, so you're never going to get a shipment of me back in your store ever again. Bye.
Fry's Electronics. This is bringing back 90s memories. I remember when I got my first Mac, which was one of those Blueberry laptop ones. I think I still have it somewhere, even though probably don't know if I can get that thing up and running again. But I remember I bought I brought like a Mac fan magazine, and it came with a CD-ROM, and one was Escape the Best Buy Salesman. And the Best Buy salesman kept saying, "You sure you want a Mac? They're going to go out of business soon. Why don't you get a piece?" Like, it was this little thing. I know you probably agree with the
No. I
Because
clearly
Best Buy
clearly
turned
they
on
did.
Mac for a while in the 90s. They
But
used to
that is
sell
the
them, they turned
opposite
on it.
example of what you're talking about. This was people that didn't realize they were getting fleeced and they should have run the other way.
Yeah. Anyway,
You
that's
still haven't figured that out.
who hasn't figured it out?
that Macs are
Moving right along.
You're a Mac
as
guy.
as I
Died in the
stream from
lull.
my
I
Mac.
know.
Mac is a passing fad, yet I'm still yet I'm on one now. It's weird. Okay, I'm sorry. Moving on. I'll admit
I
the
didn't say
company
it was a passing fad. I was saying there's people dumb enough to keep using it.
the company is not as good since Jobs died. I will say that. I'm angry about the apparently expiration of the iPod. I'm telling you, I'm going nuts though. I'm looking at like these recreated Walkmans that take actual audio
That's
tapes.
actually a topic you're going to have to talk to me about. Is this whole iPod thing? Because I know of them. I think I kind of know what they're.
Okay,
they're all
that'll
about.
be in the '90s discussion when I try to explain to you what you missed out on the '90s. I believe iPod is late '90s, though I didn't get one till the aughts. But
We're going to have to call it like the real boomer stream.
Look, I credit the iPod in many ways. My love of music better developed through the iPod. I can't explain it, but I'll talk
Honestly,
about it.
you're making it sound compelling. I am kind of interested now to hear about this.
Yes. Anyway, this is welcome to Geeky Geezers. We have
There
to
you
now
go.
get into the news.
Yes.
The news. And unfortunately, we have some deaths. And
Yes.
that's kind of sad. But actually a celebration, too, with these celebrities.
Yes.
I think you made a point a while ago. We shouldn't always do deaths. If we get a chance, we should.
You know who
celebrate
that
someone
was?
who's
That
still
was
with us.
regular contributor Geek Flag with Nate Knows, and he contributed one that we will get to at the end of our because it is still an in memoriam. It's just an in memoriam of someone we're not saying goodbye to just yet.
Yeah. Well, I thought the Zootopia sent me something. Maybe I'm confused. That maybe he's the one that's with Pond stuff. Okay, but Bobby Sherman, first up. Bobby Sherman died at age 81. His wife, Bridget Poblon Sherman, had announced 3 months ago that the entertainer was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. In posting the news of his death on to Instagram Tuesday morning, Poblon Sherman wrote, "It is with the heaviest heart that I share the passing of my beloved husband, Bobby Sherman. Bobby left this world holding my hand just as he held our life with love, courage, and unwavering grace through all 29 beautiful years of marriage.
Jeez.
I was his Cinderella. He was my Prince Charming. Even in his final days, he stayed strong for me. That's who Bobby was, brave, gentle, and full of light." I don't doubt that, actually. Yeah.
That is really sweet.
Yeah. She continued, "As he rested, I read him fan letters from all over the world, words of love and gratitude that lifted his spirits and reminded him of how deeply he was cherished. He soaked up every word with that familiar sparkle in his eye, and yes, he still finds time to crack well-timed jokes. Bobby had a wonderful, wicked sense of humor. It never left him. He could light up a room with a look, a quip, or one of his classic one-liners." Sherman's wife pointed out that how he how he had reinvented himself in his post-Idol decades, finding new roles far from screen or concert stage. He was a man of service. He traded sold-out concerts and magazine covers for the back of an ambulance, becoming an EMT and a trainer with the LAPD. He saved lives. He showed us what real heroism looks like, quiet, selfless, and deeply human. His friend John Stamos confirmed the news, reposting Bridget's message and adding, "From one ex-teen idol to another, rest in peace, Bobby Sherman." I didn't realize
John Stamos has been having a bad couple weeks here.
Yeah,
He really has.
This is not
losing
good.
a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The news had been anticipated ever since his wife revealed to fans in social media posts in late March and early May that the entertainer was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, explaining how we'd no longer be able to make personal appearances. "Thank you all so much for remembering him," she wrote on her Facebook page. "We really appreciate it." She had elaborated on his condition in an interview at Fox News Digital, published April 2nd, saying that Sherman was at home with special care at the time after the previous night being in the hospital. "Tell her, Brig, I just want to go home." Poblon Sherman added that he was suffering from kidney cancer that had spread everywhere.
Oh, gosh.
That's awful.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I unfortunately know more about cancer than I'd like from personal
Right.
family members. He was doing crossword puzzles with me in the last few days, and then all of a sudden Saturday turned, and he's just sleeping more, and his body's not working more. Everything's shutting down. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what happens. Yeah, I know from experience. Sherman came to fame as a regular for 2 seasons of the ABC series Here Come the Brides in 1968 to 1970, and quickly parlayed that into an even big career as a singing star. Sherman was especially
Yep.
beloved by adolescent and preteen girls for his hit singles and television appearances, coming to be literally the poster boy for the power of bubblegum music for a few years, with his suitable for wall pasting photo spreads in magazines like Tiger Beat and 16. Sherman was rivaled only by Donny Osmond and David Cassidy in his power to mesmerize with a soothing voice and cuddly good looks. At his peak in 1969 to 70, he had 4 singles reaching the top 10 Billboard Hot 100 and achieved gold selling status. Little Woman number 3, La La La, If I Had You number 9, Easy Come Easy Go number 9, and perhaps his best known song, or the one most likely to be spontaneously spelt out by fans at a certain age, Julie, Do You Love Me? Other hits that didn't quite reach the high but still impacted the Hot 100 or adult contemporary charts, including Hey Mr. Sun, Cried Like a Baby at the Drum, and Jennifer. He also had 3 albums achieve gold status. I'm sure you know Bobby Sherman from growing up.
Yes, I do, and I know every one of those songs that you mentioned. I mean, I would be lying, or at least really stretching the truth, if I said I was like a huge fan. It wasn't really my wheelhouse of music. That whole how did you call it, bubblegum, type
Bubblegum
pop. But I was,
which isn't really derisive. I mean, I know people might
not really. It's like candy. It's not what you go for your main meal. But if someone offers you a piece of candy, yeah, okay, a little treat, sure. That's what this kind of music is.
Yeah. Thank you, Geek Flag, for the kind words. Yeah.
And I want to go back and say hi to a couple people that have come in since we were saying hi to people, including Booger414. That's how I'm going to say it from now on. Booger414. Marc Malnekoff, of course. I did wish you a happy anniversary. And I thought I saw another couple in here.
Maybe in my chat?
Possibly. Let me go back to the stream. If I have missed you, just drop me a little hi, Troy, and I will give you a shout out, because I love seeing you guys here.
Absolutely.
Oh, Matanui. Matanui's over on your channel. Yep. Hi, Matanui. I did bring up one of his chat. Oh, and Connie too. I brought up her. Yep. See, she just dropped the yes. Thank you.
But yeah. I mean, rest in peace, Bobby Sherman.
Those were the days. So we always talk about the 80s as being the days of big hair, but for the men, the 70s was the days of big hair.
It looks good though. At least it's not that those perms that some guys got, like the Brady's did. Remember that one season?
I don't like perms on anybody, male or female. It's well, Netter could probably tell you better, but it's just chemically burning your hair, and it's ugh.
Well, you do like that one picture of me with the perm.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, I like any picture.
It was the only day it ever looked good. The rest of the time, I think it looked horrible.
Sometimes you have a good hair day, but by and large, perms, no.
But rest in peace, Bobby Sherman.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, we'll have to revisit him again at some point. I don't know. Was he ever on Donnie and Maria? I would assume, probably as a guest star, maybe. I don't know.
Honestly, I don't remember. I don't remember individual episodes I just remember scenes here and there of the Donnie and Marie show.
I think you may have missed somebody. I want to say hello to Leia Plus Size.
Oh, Leia Plus Size.
Welcome, Leia Plus Size.
That one. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Leia Plus Size, for popping in. From what I remember, he was a paramedic and later on a reserve officer teaching medical subjects, police academy.
Yep.
See, this is what's cool. He had his stardom. Instead, and maybe his career peaked, or maybe he just didn't feel like doing anymore. But he goes on to do other important things in his life, and good on him. And a lot of actors do that. Like I think we mentioned someone the other week who did she become a doctor or a nurse like after her career. So I mean,
it's like that's not a failure. That is success. That is. Yeah. I chose a different career, and it's like, wow, good on you. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. But rest in peace, Bobby Sherman, and we'll remember your songs and your other appearances on many great shows from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Lesser known than Bobby Sherman, but I think we remember Dukes of
Oh,
Hazzard.
we absolutely do remember this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Rick Hurst, the actor known for playing Deputy Cletus Hogg on the Dukes of Hazzard, has died. He was 79. According to the actor's wife, Candice Kaniki, he died unexpectedly on Thursday in Los Angeles. TMZ reported his cause of death was not immediately disclosed. Hurst co-star Ben Jones, who played Cooter Davenport on the 1979 to 85 CBS sitcom, announced his death on Facebook after Hurst was scheduled to appear at Cooter's place in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee next month. It doesn't seem right that Rick Hurst passed away this afternoon when something so unexpected happens. It's harder to process, as the current expression goes, he said in a statement. I have known Rick for over 45 years, and there wasn't a minute of that time he didn't leave me smiling or laughing. Sure, he was a professional comedian, but mostly he just had a heart as big as Texas. He was a fine actor, a splendid comic, and wonderfully supportive colleague. I had seen him in Burt Reynolds' movie called WW and the Dixie Dance Kings, and thought he had stole the show. I need to watch that movie now. So when he showed up in Hazard County during the time when Sonny Schroyer was doing the series, Enos, everything clicked. He fit right in and never stopped making people smile until this afternoon. Jones continued, and since the Dukes is still playing all over the planet, he will continue to make us laugh. I don't know about y'all, but I believe in an afterlife, and I can see Rick up there in heaven with Jimmy Best and Sorrell Brook and Denver Pyle, putting on the funniest show inside those pearly gates. We have always thought of our Cooters friends as Hazard Nation. Well, Hazard Nation is sure going to miss Rick Hurst down here around Cooters, but his presence will always be near us. Rest in peace, old friend. Born January 1st, 1946 in Houston, Hurst had several TV roles on Sanford & Son, The Partridge Family, Gunsmoke, Happy Days, Little House on the Prairie, The $6 Million Man, and MASH throughout the 1970s before landing the part of Boss Hogg's cousin on the Dukes of Hazzard. Hurst has also appeared in shows like Murder, She Wrote, 227, The Wonder Years, Family Matters, and Melrose Place, as well as movies like Earth Girls Are Easy, The Karate Kid Part 3. I need to rewatch to figure out where he is in Karate Kid Part 3. Steel Magnolias and Anywhere But Here, 1999. So, yeah.
Yeah, I follow John Schneider on YouTube. He's got a semi-regular show called Drinks with D and John, and I haven't seen his most recent couple of them, so I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't mention Rick Hurst in one of his most recent videos. But yeah, that's a bummer. But yeah, there you go.
Rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
A big one for me, and probably for Birdman, Daniel, if he's listening. Lalo Schifrin, 93, has passed on. The Grammy-winning composer of Mission Impossible and film scores including Cool Hand Luke, Dirty Harry, and Bullet, died Thursday of complications from pneumonia. He was 93. I know his music well. Big fan of his scores for Dirty Harry. I believe he also did Magnum Force. Brilliant composer. Dealt more with jazz in his scores too, which I really appreciated. The Argentine musician was among the first to apply a broad range of musical ideas to film and television scores, from jazz and rock to more modern, complex techniques of orchestral writing. His heyday was the 1960s and 70s, when he produced several film and TV scores that are now regarded as classics. In November 2018, Schifrin became the only third composer in the history of the Academy of Motion Pictures Art and Sciences to receive an honorary Oscar. Clint Eastwood, for whom Schifrin composed 8 scores, made the presentation. In recognition of a unique musical style, compositional integrity, and influential contributions to the art of film scoring. Actress Kathy Bates said at the event, his work cannot be easily labeled. Is what he creates jazz? Is it classical, contemporary, popular? The answer is yes, it is all of those things. Lalo is a true Renaissance man, a performer at the piano, a painter with notes, a conductor and composer who has scored some of the most memorable films of the past half-century. Also that evening, Schifrin said, composing for movies has been a lifetime joy and creativity. Receiving this honorary Oscar is the culmination of a dream. It is a mission accomplished, he said to audience cheers at the Dolby Theater. Schifrin was nominated 6 times for Oscars, including score nods for Cool Hand Luke, The Fawkes, Voyage of the Damned, The Amityville Horror.
Uh-huh.
I
thought you knew that.
I probably did, but it's just, you have the kids. I have that score, actually. The kids doing the la la. That's a creepy
Yeah.
score, isn't it?
La, la, la. Yep, absolutely.
A lot of composers, they have like a signature, and you know what? The Amityville Horror and Dirty Harry, I could see comparisons there actually. The Sting 2, plus a Best Song nomination for the competition, but he was especially well known for his TV themes. Mission Impossible theme earned him 2 of his 5 Grammy Awards, and 3 of his first 4 Emmy nominations that brought him lasting fame not only for the 1960s TV series, but for its use throughout the 8 Tom Cruise Mission Impossible films that began in 1996. Yes, if you go see the latest Mission Impossible, you'll hear his song. Yeah,
that's what happens. That's kind of how royalties and residuals work. Yeah,
it's like how the Superman theme can still be used now, even though it was John Williams that made that.
Yep.
Asked about that theme written for Bruce Geller's widely praised 1966-73 spy series starring Peter Graves, Martin Landau, and Barbara Bain, Schifrin once said, "I wanted a little humor, lightness, a theme that wouldn't take itself too seriously, though he chose an unusual time signature because there is something unpredictable about 5/4."
Yep.
Or I should know what that is, but okay. The first of the 2 Mission Impossible soundtrack albums became a bestseller in 1968, and the theme reached number 41 on the Billboard pop charts. A track from the second Mission Impossible album, The Noob Incident, has often been sampled in hip-hop and trip-hop songs, including Sour Times by Portishead and Prowl by Helta Skelta. The composer went on to pen a jazz waltz for Geller's Private Eye series Mannix, employ a Moog synthesizer for ambulance-like wail for Medical Center, and write such other TV themes such as Starsky and Hutch, Most Wanted, and Pacelli.
Yep.
He even made a cameo appearance in the Jazz Club of the Cat, another 1960 series he scored that featured plenty of Latin jazz. Schifrin's reputation for innovative jazz proposer led to an invitation to write TV and films. Moving to Hollywood in 1960, he wrote music for the Alfred Hitchcock Hour, Kraft Suspense Theater. What is that? Is that Kraft?
Kraft, like the food company.
Oh my goodness! Okay,
they
sponsor their own. I guess thing to compete with Alfred Hitchcock Hour. Okay, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. He composed music for The Man from U.N.C.L.E. That's a big show Netter loved.
Yes,
and other series, along with the first made-for-TV movie "See How They Run" in 1964. He composed the score for the first made-for-TV movie.
Yep.
This man had quite a career. I mean, I know we think of a lot of other composers, but he was a big one. Subsequent films, and of course he did a lot of Eastwood movies. He also did Coogan's Bluff, The Beguiled, Dirty Harry, Magnum Force, Sudden Impact, I didn't know he did the Deadpool. Okay. I should know because I have the score to that. And he wrote music for more than 40 TV movies and miniseries, including the 1966 Doomsday Flight, and 80s and 90s multi-parters like Princess Daisy, A.D. Oh, A.D. Anno Domine. That was a follow-up to Jesus of Nazareth. I don't know if you saw that. It's not as well known as that one. It's about the early days of the apostles. In fact, I didn't realize that Jesus of Nazareth is actually part 2 of a trilogy. I'm going off on a tangent.
No, I actually didn't know that either.
Apparently, the first miniseries they did was before they did Jesus of Nazareth, they did Moses the Lawgiver, which was a limited series, and then they did Jesus of Nazareth, and then they did A.D. Anno Domini, which was about the early days of the apostles, also what was going on in the Roman Empire and how the Hebrews were dealing with the Roman stuff and everything. It wasn't bad. Yeah. So let's see here. Planet of the Apes. He did the score. He wrote themes, including for TV series for Planet of the Apes. Look at that. So yeah, yes. I'm sorry. I know I spent a lot of time with Lalo Schifrin, but he's one of the great composers, and I feel awful about saying this. I didn't realize he was still alive. So now he's not. Yeah. So I guess I should have been. Like I said, we tend to not celebrate the people who are alive sometimes. Maybe we should.
True.
So yeah.
True.
Rest in peace. He has a great. His music is great even by itself, but of course, the Dirty Harry soundtrack, one of my favorites. So, yeah. More music-related news, unfortunately, and it's odd because we were just watching Mulholland Drive like a couple weeks ago, and this is Rebecca Del Rio, a singer-songwriter who achieved cinematic legend with her performance of Llorando. Is that right? And David Lynch's
Llorando.
Yeah. I gotta roll my R's.
Say it as Llorando. It's
Llorando.
you're still kind of anglicizing it, but that's fine.
But then
I'll
roll
work.
your R.
But you got to roll the
Llorando.
Llorando. Yes.
Okay, well, I'll work on that. David Lynch's 2001 opus, Mulholland Drive, died June 23rd at her residence in Los Angeles. She was 57 years old. That's way too young. Del Rio's death was confirmed through the Los Angeles coroner's office. No further details about her death is currently available. Lynch was first introduced to Del Rio by their mutual CIA agent Brian Lukes in the mid-90s. The singer was working under a country record deal in Nashville, Tennessee, which she had landed off of her recording of Llorando, the Spanish-language cover of Roy Orbison's Crying. Upon their meeting, Lynch asked Del Rio to perform the number and covertly recorded her. The performance became the basis for the Club Silencio scene, an addition by Lynch to his then rejected ABC pilot Mulholland Drive, which he was reworking into a feature film. The Silencio sequence marks a reality-shattering crescendo to Lynch's film and an emotional crest which leads Naomi Watts and Laura Herring both bursting into tears while viewing Del Rio's performance in the cavernous club. While the sequence ends with Del Rio's character fainting, revealing that she had been lip-syncing, the singer belted out the number for every take while filming. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'll get into it more if we have the time on Thursday during Live from Sparkwood in 21. But by all means, check out last week's Live from Sparkwood in 21, where we did a deep dive on Mulholland Drive. And of course, you can't do so without really analyzing that Club Silencio scene.
There were many takes, and with every take, I sang along because I felt I had to produce that same feeling with the vibrato in my throat so the audience could see it. So that's interesting. It's not just about what's coming out of your mouth; it's also how the body looks to the audience.
This was what. This was. I had read that interview, and I found it. It's one of those things where, if I'd ever thought about it, it would have been obvious, but it was something I never thought about. She was basically saying that when you watch someone lip sync, you could, if you're a singer, you can tell they're not singing because you don't see the vibration in their throat. So she said, so every time I sang the song, I sang it, even though it was going to be dubbed later because of the nature of the scene she was doing. But it gave you that verisimilitude you needed to believe she was singing, because in reality she was, which I think, especially from David Lynch's perspective and what we were saying about Mulholland Drive, that piercing of the veil between what's real and what isn't real, that's very on point for that. So, wow.
Yeah. It was a brilliant scene, though. Yeah, that's what I remember. She also did, Del Rio sang Southland Tales. She sang Star Spangled Banner during the Apocalyptic finale act. Her vocals can be heard on the soundtracks for Sin City, Man on Fire, and Streets of Legend. You ever see Man on Fire?
I think I did, but Denzel, I honestly don't remember it that well.
And a young Dakota Fanning are in that. That's an interesting movie. That's Denzel Washington killing a lot of people in Mexico. That's what
is that kind of like Leon the Professional?
Not exactly, because Man on Fire, he's a bodyguard, which I think, and he might have had a pass in the U.S. government. I don't know if he was like CIA or FBI or something like that, and then now he just does. I don't know. And then now he does bodyguard work for this guy who is being harassed by the cartels in Mexico, and I think they keep threatening to kidnap his daughter. That's why he's there to protect the daughter. But young Dakota
You have to roll your R's in batter and deep fry it.
Basically, yeah.
Rolling greater pentil pens. Remember that?
Yes.
Ruffles have ridges.
Del Rio's connection to Lynch continued through the rest of her filmmaker's career. Yes. Lynch died in January 1978. She performed alongside Moby in one of the episode-capping Roadhouse sequences in Showtime's survival series, Twin Peaks: The Return. I believe that's where that picture is from. Mm-hmm. She also joined for touring performances of the Red Room Orchestra plays the music of Twin Peaks over recent years. Less than 2 weeks before her death, Del Rio performed live at a charity event, Mulholland Drive screening at the Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles. That would have been incredible to attend. Plus, she would have helped out a charity, too. Born July 10th, 1967 in Chula Vista, California, Del Rio began performing in San Diego before moving to Los Angeles. She had a son, Philip D. Bars. 1986, DeBars died in 2009, age 23. Oh, that's tragic. I'm really sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
Uh,
and the cause of death is still under investigation. It's officially listed as under investigation.
I have a question. Was this picture taken like in a Twin Peaks movie or episode? Because
Yes.
she's wearing the zigzag on her dress.
Yes,
Yes,
she
it
is.
was.
That was from The Return. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Man on Fire was an awesome movie, Lee. Yes.
And welcome Lee Fisk, who says Man on Fire was an awesome movie. Yes.
I did enjoy that movie as well. And not a death, because I feel
A celebration of 100 years of life. Come on, everyone. That's amazing.
still with us. Happy birthday, June Lockhart, age 100. Wow.
Yes.
Earlier this month, Bill Mooney took a moment at the Hollywood Show to update us on his former on-screen mom, June Lockhart, in advance of her centennial birthday. Lockhart, who turns 100 on June 25th, 2025, enjoyed a career spanning nearly 90 years and is one of the last surviving actors from the golden age of Hollywood. Most know that Lockhart and Mooney starred in the TV sci-fi classic Lost in Space. I almost said Lost in Space for Good Old Days, but I thought we all already did it. That's why I didn't do it. That's why I had the brilliant idea to do
Very
Dubecky.
probably, yeah.
I think we did cover this a little while back. But which followed the Robinson family as they set out to find an alternate planet to inhabit as Earth's overpopulation was nearing a crisis. Is that the plot of the show?
Yep.
Okay, it is. Okay. Lockhart played with the family's matriarch and biochemist Maureen Robinson opposite Guy Williams' patriarch, Dr. John Robinson. At the time, he had traded in that gingham gown she donned for the 6 seasons of Lassie for the cooler, form-fitting, sparkly jumpsuit for Lost in Space. Mumi starred as the infamously nerdy Will Robinson. Why do they say nerdy? He likes science. Okay.
Well, he was a little nerdy, I guess.
The youngest of the Robinson clan, which also included Judy Robinson and Penny Robinson. We asked Mumi if he still was in contact with Lockhart, and he gave us an update on her health. I talked to her through her daughter. June is at home. She has 2 assistants. She's still in her own home. She follows the politics. She reads the news, but she doesn't talk on the phone, and she's not going to put on or make him a go out to do a convention or anything anymore. But she's fine. She's healthy. Okay, that's good. Mumi also gave us some behind the scenes on what cast members would do to the celebrity birthdays on the set back in the 1960s. Well, Angela and our birthdays were always celebrated on set with cakes and stuff because we were kids, movie shares. The rest of us, we knew people's birthdays and throughout all of the decades sent birthday cards and calls and things like that. It's always been and continues to be a real kind of unconventional family. Everybody got along really well. Mumi wishes Lockhart nothing but the best for her 100th. You can keep up with Bill Mumi as he's very active on social media, answering fans and sharing his latest music. Well, good on June Lockhart. Here's to another great year.
And here's a piece of trivia. Said that she's been acting for almost 90 years. That would be fairly accurate. Her first role, 1938, A Christmas Carol. She was 13 years old. She played Belinda Cratchit.
Holy cow. Okay.
I know,
wow.
right?
Mulholland Drive deep dive. Yeah, you can check out our deep dive for Mulholland Drive on through that link too. Troy did a very great deep dive on that the other day.
It was a very deep dive, but that was a very deep movie.
Now we have to get into modern entertainment news.
Oh boy, it's a mixed bag.
There will be
bad. As long as you want to keep talking about Nintendo, it's going to be all
I
bad.
don't, but I seem to think you caught on to this. Like I said, I don't necessarily like talking about the games industry so much. Even earlier on, I wouldn't even talk about it in our earlier streams.
I'm getting to the point where I feel like I'm glad I'm not a gamer, like hardcore gamer.
Okay.
Because these game systems and these game companies are at this point almost worse than the movie industry.
Okay, they're going through a rough patch right now.
Yeah, I should say so.
I feel Sony, I think on some level, has admitted they screwed up. But I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because they put all that money into live service games like Concord. But again, I gave Sony credit for giving refunds on that.
Yeah.
And trust me, Sony has done things in the past that have gotten me very angry.
Sony wants to stay in business. I almost feel like Nintendo is going out of their way to drive customers away.
Well, there's that. But we're not talking about Nintendo right now. Now we're talking about the third console manufacturer, Xbox. Xbox is doing not well. This is they think this is incoming. We're gonna have more on this probably next weekend as well. Major layoffs across Xbox will happen next week, according to a new report from Bloomberg. These layoffs, the fourth round in 18 months, will be part of a company-wide reorganization in Microsoft's Xbox division. Bloomberg also reports Microsoft will cut thousands of jobs throughout its various divisions next week as well, with sales being hit the hardest. Last year, Microsoft laid off 1,900 employees across Xbox, Activision Blizzard, and ZeniMax in January. In May 2024.
That does not sound like the sign of a healthy company to me.
Yeah, in May 2024, Xbox shut down Redfall developer Arcane, Austin Hi-Fi, Rust Studio, Tango Gameworks, and more shortly after. Xbox made more job cuts across its various studios and divisions. These cuts have happened for many reasons, but amongst them is Microsoft's desire to boost profit margins and subsequent studio release struggles after the purchase of Activision Blizzard for $69 billion in 2023. This is
Jeez.
They spent a lot of money at Activision.
That sounds like real money to me.
It was. That was a lot of money. That was the one where they were having to push that through too, because I think they had to okay it with both the European Union and the United States. It was this is an in development story and Game Informer update. Okay, so I do want to say this. I know we pick on Nintendo a lot on here. I will say that Nintendo as a company, they do try to avoid laying off. I mean, everyone lays off, but I know for a fact, at least in the past, they have. The CEO will rather take a pay cut usually than let the staff did. At least Iwata did. I think Iwata famously didn't take his pay increase or take his thing because he didn't want anyone getting let go. So I don't know about their current management. That this may be a different story now, but I know in the past they've been like that. Xbox though, they're not in good. I don't really. They're going through a change. That's what I'll say. It's funny because some guy on, I think some, I forgot what pundit it was online was talking about this, and he was saying that Microsoft's strategy is to make anything an Xbox, and I think by that means is they'll make Game Pass available on any lots of things. So rather than making the Xboxes themselves, they'll just have other companies make their own Xboxes, and they'll slap the Xbox label. And he was likening it to, remember in the 70s, you were a big fan of Star Trek, but then they would slap Star Trek on some toy water gun that looked nothing like a phaser.
Interact toys, yeah, exactly.
And they would just slap Star Trek on it, thinking they could fool you. And he feels that's what's going to happen with Xbox, because apparently the MetaQuest virtual reality thing. Well, they're going to slap Xbox on that and give you an Xbox controller with it, but that's not really an Xbox. It's MetaQuest. It's that Mark Zuckerberg thing, the virtual reality thing.
Wow.
I don't know though. We're going to learn more as the year goes on, but next week we're going to have more on this. Layoffs coming, and I have to say I do feel bad for the people that get laid off because it's the executives that make the stupid decisions that the gamers hate, but I do feel it's the regular worker that are the ones that get pinched first on this. So
True.
It's people who probably knew that their bosses were screwing up,
and probably tried to tell them too.
Yeah. Hold on. Somebody has something too. Let me go into this. Someone's saying something in the chat. Hold on. Mulholland Drive. Bear with me. Consultant companies like Sweet Baby Inc. and their activists closed down a lot of these game divisions with their crappy ideas. Yeah, because they don't sell. And I think we can attribute this. I think Avowed was one of those types of games that Microsoft, I think Xbox did put out because they own that company. Yep. And it was a disaster that nobody bought. And I think that was another Sweet Baby Inc. deal. Alan Wake 2 was another one of those that Sweet Baby Inc. was involved with that also did not do well. While in 2027, the new Xbox console will basically be a PC game computer. I've heard that it's going to be a PC. So it's not a console anymore.
Yep.
And I'm sure at some point, if not already, you can already get Xbox Game Pass on computer. I think they were saying the freedom of Windows. That's how they're pushing Xbox. They're going to bring the freedom of Windows to Xbox. And some people were saying, really? Because I have Linux on all my house computers. That's what someone was saying. But anyway, that's it for Xbox right now. We'll have more next week. Let's move on to Nintendo. We have 2 articles, same picture for both. This is from Notebook, but this has been covered. This article I know has been covered elsewhere. Oh no, wait. This one I saw in Notebook. Nintendo seems to be particularly heavy-handed when it comes to banning consoles for a variety of offenses by their owners, including but limited to the use of questionable usernames. Yes, according to the headline, Nintendo Switch 2 owners can now get console banned over an inappropriate username. Nintendo Switch 2 console owners are being devastated with the first wave of system-wide bans that have rendered the console bricked and unable to access Nintendo's online services due to a plethora of reasons. While the main wave of bans stems from the use of MiG flash cartridges, one user has interestingly reported a console ban for a slightly offensive username instead. According to Nintendo support, the bans are irreversible. Users will be unable to access the eShop system updates or download and play game key cards, turning the Nintendo Switch into an offline-only console.
An offline-only console that is absolutely useless because of the nature of the way the console works.
Especially if you buy a game key card and you have to download the game. Nintendo has recently updated its user agreements and community guidelines, giving the company free reign to render services, games, and Nintendo Switch 2 systems inaccessible if users breach their rules. While most of the bans have been heavily centered on piracy and the use of unauthorized hardware, specifically the MiG flash cartridges, one Reddit user, Ufuno24, reported that the R Switch 2 subreddit that their Nintendo Switch 2 console was banned for an obnoxious username. The Reddit user states their Switch 2 console was banned after a family member reportedly changed their profile name to Twinklink. Okay. Funo24 further remarked that they were prevented from accessing any Nintendo services. Nintendo support issued a response stating permanent console bans cannot be revoked, leaving the owner to return the system to GameStop and recover their account data via cloud. Unlike Xbox and PlayStation, which target individual accounts, Nintendo is applying bans on Switch 2 devices. This means that the affected users can use their accounts on other Nintendo 2 Switch systems, while the banned system is essentially relegated to offline use. Well, wait a minute. If I'm reading this right, because this guy could buy another Nintendo Switch 2 system, put all of the same information, and that one will work, but the one he did the offensive thing on will never work again. Is that right?
Well, no, I suspect that if you can go and get another one, but if you use that same offensive name, that's going to get bricked too.
Okay. It goes on to say Nintendo America's community guidelines prohibit obscene, illegal, or inappropriate usernames, warning users of penalties such as removal of content or suspension of services or permanent bans. Until this shows any signs of abating, users would benefit from staying clear of using suggestive or inappropriate usernames, as it seems that Nintendo is not taking any chances on policy violations with the Nintendo Switch 2. Yes, except that it wasn't the user that made the name change. It was probably an older brother playing a prank on him. And because of that, his system gets bricked. This doesn't make any sense to me. I can't help but think that you're spending $450 to $500 on this new console that you really don't own.
I said that before.
Okay. I don't understand this. Okay, I mentioned before to you how I said Nintendo had a weird history, but I would argue they were bullies in the days of the NES. They were basically bullies to third parties because they were wanting to be dominant in the industry, and even bullies a little bit during the Super Nintendo era. But then they cooled off a bit. Now they're becoming bullies again, but it's like they're bullies to the actual customer base, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, they've gone way beyond bullies. They've become freaking Gestapo. It's almost like we are looking for any possible reason to brick your system so that you don't get any service from us. You pay us these ridiculous fees and then get nothing for it. That's our business model. And you agree to it because you signed the terms of service.
Well, I have to say, I don't know. This is a bit extreme. This is a username. So here's what you do if you make an inappropriate username. Nintendo says, inappropriate username, please change the name. Heck, even if they gave you like a week suspension, which I don't agree with either, that's not as extreme as bricking the entire console.
Yeah, that's freaking ridiculous. I mean, that is like, we think that you did a naughty word, so we're going to come to your house and smash your computer.
I would like to hear about the thousands of people.
Send the Pinkertons to do it, in fact.
You joke, that might be next. I would like to hear about thousands of people en masse returning their Nintendo Switch and demanding full refunds. It's funny you mentioned that because I didn't hear about this in the United States, but in the UK, apparently Switch 2s are showing up in used shops all over the place. And to be fair, I think I believe the European Union protects against some of these bans that Nintendo's trying to do with the Switch system. I think they can't be as harsh as they are in the United States.
Well,
as they
then
are in
what
the European
needs to happen is there needs to be an outcry from people here in the United States. And if we can't get any kind of well, I say we, this is not my problem, but if the people in the United States that are affected by this don't get some sort of resolution through some sort of a class action suit or something like that, then there needs to be some serious legal remedies. There needs to be a law change or something similar to what the EU has. Then
This is what I'm very curious about.
This is friggin' racketeering, is what it is.
Because they made you sign some kind of agreement probably before you even turned your Switch 2 system. Well, right after you turn your Switch 2 system off.
But there are limits to what you can put into a terms of service and get away with. We've seen that, for example, with Disney having written into your terms of service, you can never sue us for anything because you used a free service of Disney Plus. So when we accidentally poison you at our restaurant, you can't sue us.
Ridiculous. Oh, well, that wasn't funny, that incident, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Maria, welcome.
Welcome, Maria. Good to see you. Good to see you.
All right, so let's go on to the next. Well, Geek Flag, yeah, I know, boycott Nintendo. People just, rather than phrasing as boycott, just don't buy hardware that you can't own. And until Nintendo rectifies this and probably puts out, they got to do a serious about face on this, or else I'm never buying a Switch 2, because I can't buy a console I don't own. I don't own this console when they can break it anytime second.
It already sounds to me like you're not planning on getting a Switch 2 at this point.
Are you trying to talk yourself into buying one?
Well,
yeah, I know, because I don't see a whole lot of upsides to it.
Here's the funny thing about me and Nintendo. I got angry at them during the Wii era. I mean, it wasn't for reasons like this. It was for the fact that Xenoblade Chronicles, a very popular RPG in Japan, was getting a European localization, and we in the US wanted it too. And they were like, well, we don't know. And it's like, just release it. There's nothing coming out for the Wii. Release it on the Wii. And then they finally made it like a limited thing through GameStop. You could order directly from Nintendo, and I got it. But it always bugged me that we had to beg them just to release a game that was already localized in English because it was released in England. So you didn't even have to go to that much work. So I'm like, it's going to be a while before I get another Nintendo console. And to be fair, last gen, I waited to get a Switch. I got the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One before I got a Switch. Now, to be fair, I've really liked the original Switch. I think it's a great portable console hybrid system. A lot of great Nintendo games. I don't see myself anytime soon getting a Switch 2, though, because of this nonsense, though. And I hate the game key cards. I mean, the price is bad, but I might have gotten over it because, let's face facts, you wait a couple of years, hopefully they would have reduced the prices on some of this stuff. But now, I'm just, no, I'm not doing it. And here's another problem, too. Remember last week we were reporting on the docks that weren't working, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, let's say you want to play it in portable mode. Well, apparently, despite the fact that this thing is $150 more than the original Switch, it seems to have a worse screen. So let me get into this. An in-depth analysis of the Switch 2 has unveiled even more issues with the display. It seems to be less responsive and blurrier than the original Switch, which raises questions about Nintendo's decision to go with LCD rather than OLED. Because during the middle of the last cycle, Nintendo released an updated Switch model you could get with an OLED screen. Probably like your TV. Okay? But even though the Nintendo Switch 2 has been selling like hotcakes, it's not free of criticism and hardware flaws. It was noticed earlier that the display is not all that it was cracked up to be, and the reason why Nintendo decided to go with LCD instead of OLED didn't feel justified. Now, a detailed review of the handheld has revealed that there are more problems with the screen, making it feel worse than the original Switch. Digital Foundry posted in its in-depth review. They do a lot of tech analysis of how games run and systems run. June 21st, and talked about how bad the display was. The response times of the pixels are slower on the Switch 2, which leads to blurring and trailing. This is most noticeable in the side scrollers, where fast-paced movements are required from left to right. So I imagine you played that new Super Mario Bros. Wonder game, which was a 2D side scroller. It would look worse on this than the original Switch. John Linneman from Digital Foundry noted the response times are worse than the original Switch, which shouldn't be the case. Furthermore, HDR was also found to be lackluster due to the brightness limitations of the display. This was noted in an earlier display review, as well as there is this backlight that washes out the blacks and ruins the contrast ratio. The difference between HDR on and off in games is minimal at best. To be fair, though, I've heard people complain about HDR even on the other systems. They think this was an overrated thing that they introduced with this new generation of consoles. Yeah. So here's my theory on this: why the screen is not good. You want to know my theory?
Yes. What is your theory?
Well, maybe in a year or two, Nintendo says introducing new Switch 2 Lite or Switch 2. They'll introduce a newer model and get all the people that paid the $500 for this one to go out and buy the one with the better screen. What do you think?
If that's what happens, you better believe there's going to be a frickin' uproar.
I don't know, that or people will just be lining around the block because they have to get spend another.
Then they deserve to be. Then they should just open up an account and just start giving $100 a month to the company. And just.
I'll wait and see if they release a repaired revision of the system. That's interesting you mentioned that Lester's Skeptic tank obsession. When I got the Nintendo Switch, I got it rather late in its life cycle. I did not get the OLED model, but the model I got as a Black Friday deal was actually a model they had introduced that had better battery life. So I actually got a better Switch because I waited. So, but yeah, like what Apple and Google gone with certain models, it's possible maybe in a year the new Switches will mysteriously show up with much better screens, and they'll say, "Oh, we don't know what you're talking about." What do you think? So that's a possibility too. They could just do a revision on the existing hardware and not tell anybody about it. That's it for Nintendo.
Isn't that enough? For crying out loud.
Well, there's also another thing about people getting codes from, but I'm not going to do that tonight. I figured we have too much to cover. Anyway, well, I figured that's enough Nintendo news. Front Mission 3 Remake appears to replace 2D art assets with generative AI. This is I don't know if this is still being made by Square or if this is somebody else now. This used to be a Square series. So Front Mission 3 Remake is finally out today, 26th of June, 2025, and it should be a day of celebration for fans of the PlayStation original. Well, sadly not, as it looks like the remake has replaced many of the game's 2D art assets with AI-generated and AI-upscaled versions, and some of the results are pretty awful. RPG site Black, who also reviewed the game for Nintendo Insider, has put together a piece comparing many of the game's backgrounds, in-game landing pages, and character portraits from the 1999 original and the 2025 remake from Forever Entertainment and Megapixel Studios. All the results in the article are from the beginning of the game, and the results speak for themselves. As Black states, it seems that the publisher and developer, who also worked on Front Mission First Remake, decided to feed all of the game's original 2D art assets into some kind of upscale algorithm to clean them up. So they had the AI do it for them. Some of the images looks completely different from the originals, which you can see for yourselves if you click on the article. Hands look contorted. Shadows appear in places where they look out of place on buildings. And in some instances, entirely new assets have been added to look out of place. This sounds awful. Fans are understandably not happy about this, especially given the original game is beloved by many, and there were various issues with both Front Mission 1 and 2's remakes. I didn't buy these remakes. I came close and decided not to, and I think I was correct. We're currently working on our own review of Front Mission 3 Remake, so we'll report back when we have the full verdict. But this isn't looking great. And as a reminder, the publisher here, Forever Entertainment, is the same studio that worked on Donkey Kong Country Returns HD for Nintendo Switch. So I guess it's another Nintendo-related thing. This company helped make Donkey Kong Country Returns, which actually got kind of panned. People did not like that remaster when it came out. So, yeah. I'm not a fan of people using AI. Remember James Cameron got into trouble for using AI upscaling for the old movies?
Yes.
And people said Arnold looked like he had a plastic face as a result. But now they're doing it with game assets. But the thing is, these games use a lot of, I think it's a 3D game, but it has a lot of hand-drawn art in it. Like for characters, when the characters pop up on screen. It probably has a bit of a manga anime aesthetic to it. But apparently now this looks worse. So... not good. Played the PlayStation original. I don't know what to tell you. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of things looking worse, or do they? Star Wars. Your favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Used to like Star Wars. What happened?
Well,
Okay. You've been abused. That's what happened anyway for your love of this
yes.
franchise.
I was foolish. I loved something that was classic and well made, and I'm supposed to like, ridiculous, stupid crap that gets slapped together, usually using AI.
But speaking of which, this apparently this was now, of course, this is a follow up to an article we did a few weeks ago about a very fine print of the original Star Wars movie had been preserved in England, at least the original British release from when the movie came out. It's actually interesting when you watch old videos of the 1977 release, and I found some of those videos from the English release, and the Brits were loving it. They were thinking this was the best thing ever when they got it over in England. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah. Think about it. This movie had English actors in it too. So, but anyway, let me read the article though. Star Wars quote unquote looks terrible in screening of long lost original 1977 version, excuse me. And of course, Nerd Cookies had her own response to this, which we could probably paste in the chat or something. But
Absolutely, I'll do that.
it was. She thinks this was a clickbait article, but let's get into it. I'm still going to read it. It's from Hollywood Reporter. A long-lost original print of 1977 Star Wars was recovered from an archive and screened for a group of cinema aficionados and diehard fans. An audience was finally permitted to watch the first release version of the film, nearly perfectly preserved and unfaded, that creator George Lucas famously suppressed from being publicly shown on a big screen for 47 years. The British Film Institute event was introduced by Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy, who joked that the screening was "quote unquote" not illegal. That actually is kind of funny. I'll give.
Well, it's funny, but it needed to be said because I could totally see people being, not understanding given the context and history behind this.
What you're going to see is, in fact, the first print, and I'm not even sure there's another one quite like it. Kennedy said it's that rare. Yeah, I guess she's basically saying that this print of Star Wars, we've never had a print that's in this good shape of the original movie. And the result, an attending film critic from The Telegraph who attended the screening last week admitted the unaltered original, quote unquote, looks terrible by modern standards. While fans understandably tend to focus on Lucas's most intrusive creative moves, adding the jarring CG version of Jabba the Hutt, having Greedo shoot first, stuffing distracting CG creatures and droids into Mos Eisley, the amount of subsequent polish and tweaks over the years is so extensive that many aspects of the original look just as noticeably fake as the egregious CG. This is not me saying this, is the person writing the article. Part of me wanted to write the art. Okay. Let me just finish reading before I go on my rant. Okay. I
know, right?
I felt like I was watching a completely different film, wrote Robbie Collin, who called the print a joylessly craggy, grubby, and stolidly carpentered spectacle that looks more like a fancy dress than grand sci-fi epic. Every scene had the visceral sense of watching actual people photographed doing actual things with sets and props that had been physically sawn and glued into place. The slapstick between C-3PO and R2-D2 looked clunkier and therefore funnier. The Death Star panels were less like supercomputers than wooden panels with lights stuck on, and so better attuned to the frequency of make-believe. It felt like watching a blockbuster in the modern sense than the greatest game of... It felt less like watching a blockbuster in the modern sense than the greatest game of dressing up in the desert anyone ever played. A vlogger for Cinema Savvy, George Aldridge, who's seen A New Hope at least 100 times, said the screening was incredibly special, but likewise made him realize there's so many great changes to the Star Wars films. It's the ones we disliked that have always overshadowed them. He too noted the print was so radically different, it felt like watching the film for the first time. From day one, Lucas had been making changes to this film, he said. It hasn't just been one big scene change there. It's been a little nuance. It's been sound effects. It's been the smallest details, which you do not notice until you don't see it. Aldrich noted differences, like R2-D2 isn't hiding behind rocks when the Tusken Raiders come for them. There are so many little things that I noticed. The cantina, there's been cleaning up of James Earl Jones' voice, Darth Vader. I have to interject here real quick. The R2-D2 hiding behind rocks was made for the Blu-ray release, I think right before Disney bought out Star Wars. I remember one criticism of them adding to R2-D2 hiding behind the rocks is in one scene he's hiding behind newly rocks, and in the next scene they're not there anymore.
Right.
Okay,
right.
So what was the point of putting them in if you weren't going to be consistent?
Exactly.
Anyway.
Excellent point. There you
Anyway.
go.
So ironically, a version of Star Wars that Lucas for so long didn't want to be shown seems to give viewers more respect for Lucas due to gaining some appreciation for his extended and controversial tinkering. Both reviewers noted, however, that the theater burst into applause when Han Solo shot first during the Greedo confrontation. Enthused Aldrich, Han Solo was so much cooler. Lucas's tweaks to the print began with the very first theatrical re-release of Star Wars in 1981. Until now, the studio has only permitted the screening of various special editions. The BFI negotiated with Disney and Lucasfilm for the rights for a back-to-back screening on the festival's opening nights. This particular BFI print was stored for 4 decades at a temperature of 23 degrees Fahrenheit to preserve its quality. Lucas, over the years, has been rather firm about not screening the original, and when asked in 2004 by the Associated Press why he hasn't simply released the original version along with the special editions, rather grumpily shot back, "The special edition, that's the one I wanted out there. The other movie, it's on VHS if anybody wants it. I'm not going to spend we're talking millions of dollars here, the money and the time to refurbish that, because to me, it doesn't really exist anymore. It's like, this is the movie I want it to be. And I'm sorry you saw a half-completed film and fell in love with it. But I want it to be the way I want it to be. I'm the only one who has to take responsibility for it. I'm the only one who has to have everybody throw rocks at me all the time. So at least if they're going to throw rocks at me, they're going to throw rocks at me for something I love rather than something I think is not very good, or at least something I think is not finished." Okay, wow. Okay, a lot to unpack here. I wanted to start out with the headline, would just be, "The viewers are shocked that a movie made in the 1970s looks like a movie made in the 1970s." That's what I wanted to say.
This is so ridiculous because you have to, and you kind of pointed this out. His reference to R2D2 behind the rocks means the version he's watching is the Blu-ray version, right? And when you do Blu-ray, you usually do an upscale, right? And usually
They clean up the print, yes.
you clean up the print, and then you get like what do you call them, definitive editions, where they do high definition upscales and restorations and stuff like that. They do this all the time for movies. This is film
4K
preservation.
restorations. Yeah, 4K
That
restorations.
is not the same thing as completely re-editing the film and putting in new scenes and taking out scenes and changing scenes.
And having a big droid walking, go right in front of Obi-Wan as he's doing these aren't the droids you're looking for. I'm trying to pay attention to the scene. It's like someone in the theater is getting up and blocking my view when I see that droid going in front of Obi-Wan.
And so it took me a minute for him to even realize what he was talking about with R2D2 behind rocks, because I'm used to watching the unaltered version.
Wait a minute. How are you used to watching? Are you watching a high definition, like fan fan restored print of the original Star Wars?
I thought that would have cost one that is so very easy to find.
But I thought that was going to cost. I thought that was going to cost millions and millions and millions of dollars, according to George Lucas, to get a restored print of the original Star Wars out there.
There you go.
I'm just saying. See? But fans are somehow able to do it in their spare time. I don't. Is there a nerd cookies in the chat? I don't see you, but hi. Oh, we put a link to her. We put a link to her own response. So she does a very good takedown of this. Yeah, for instance, she said if Lucas had a definitive version that he wanted to put out, why did he keep tinkering it after the special?
Yeah, I mean, he literally indicts himself by saying, "I'm sorry you fell in love with a half-finished film." Wait a minute, you release a half-finished film? Screw you then.
I mean, at this point, I would rather have his original special editions than what we have now, because the tinkering just keeps getting worse each time. It's like, was there R2 in the DivX version? Yeah, very funny, man. That's what it should be. The only versions of the original theatrical trilogy should have been on DivX. Oh man, that would be the ultimate. Lucas was a big supporter of the DivX format. I like that original poster though, don't you? That's very classic.
Oh, absolutely.
Sparks the imagination. That's what we loved about Star Wars.
Actually, there's another video that she's got out before the one that I posted there, where she talks about what Lucas had said previously about film preservation, and how he has literally hypocritically gone completely against everything he had said. So, screw him.
I just don't understand. I'll be honest with you. I never have a problem with a director going back and trying to retool a movie. That's the director's right. But just if there's a theatrical version, have that be available. Like the nice Blade Runner set that came out where they had all the different versions on it. That's what you do. Okay? So if Ridley Scott wants to do his final cut, that's fine, but just as long as we have the other cuts also available, because there are people who prefer the theatrical cut of Blade Runner. Guillermo del Toro has gone on record as saying that's his preferred cut of the movie. So
Right.
yeah, okay. But yeah, so I don't get it though. But I just found this shocking because I'm thinking, is anybody in this audience film literate at all? Do they not understand that movies were being made before the current era, and you can enjoy movies made in the 1950s and 60s? And yes, some of these movies take place on sets. You use your imagination. You know,
Yeah.
do when I'm watching an old Hammer Dracula movie, do I think that's really Dracula's castle? Maybe I shouldn't be reading too much into it and just enjoy the show. All right,
Yeah.
maybe it is a set, but you know what? It's a real place with real actors touching real props, and it's fine. Just as the original Star Wars movie was great.
Yeah, and how tone deaf is it when you're going off on people in rubber masks and whatnot, and then we look at the CG that we're getting today. Well, just look at the friggin' added scenes that they put in with Jabba the Hutt. It's like, really?
Ooh, Nerd Cookies
Really?
brought up that
That you think is better than rubber masks? Seriously?
well, that's another problem with CG. CG can age badly. I'm a big fan of the Brendan Fraser mummy movie, but some of those CG mummies don't hold up as well as they used to. And
Well, I'll
worst
tell
goes
ya,
for Jabba. That Jabba looks terrible in that CG scene. Has he updated it and made it better?
every time they do it, it's just different. It's not
Okay.
better.
Okay.
But I'll tell you that what were you saying? I completely forgot what you went with. What you were saying there. I don't know.
Jabba. Anyway, Curtis Selby says, I saw the other old footage with Biggs. I'd forgotten about it. I read it in the novel and the comic, but I guess it was actually in the films. They added the scene with Biggs in the special edition of A New Hope. And
There
it's
was
not a
never
bad scene. But
the only appearance of Biggs in the original theatrical release was as a pilot during the battle.
Yeah, I don't think it's
never saw
necessary.
him outside the X-Wing.
I don't think it's necessary to see it in the movie. I don't mind that it's there in the special edition because it doesn't offend me.
Those scenes
But,
are great.
Yeah.
They're deleted scenes.
Put
You
them in
add
the
them as
deleted
DVD
scenes, yeah.
extras.
Like they go more into Biggs on the radio drama too. You got the scenes with him. He's explaining to Luke how, because he says basically that he and a bunch of guys from the academy, because he was about to graduate, and we're joining the rebellion right afterwards. That's why you see him in the final fight, because they joined the Imperial Academy, I think, to learn, and then they were going to leave to join the rebellion because they had fighting skills and whatnot, or maybe they just saw the Empire on the inside and didn't like it. So yeah.
Right.
Polar Express CG is pretty tacky today. Shut your mouth, CluuStudio. I love that movie, but I need to rewatch it now.
Well, that's...
It's that creepy, like Norman Rockwell painting come to life, but I like it.
That's intentional, and that's a stylistic choice. I mean, it's not that it was bad CG. It was a stylistic choice. You're right, by drawing the comparison to Norman Rockwell. It's... I don't know if it's actually rotoscoped. I think it's actually rotoscoped. It
was rotoscoped. They shot Tom Hanks and a lot of the other actors. Tom Hanks, I know for certain they had him in the motion capture. And they're saying that was the same animation they used for the Beowulf movie with Angelina Jolie walking around naked with the gold and everything. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. She said she was very uncomfortable when those scenes came on the big screen when she went to a screening. The movie is still good, but the CG is aged. It may have. You're right, CluuStudio. Perhaps it has aged by now. I'll have to look at it. That's a problem with CG. It ages. That's why I prefer classic animation. But I don't know.
Well, and see, the thing is, classic animation is never meant to look realistic. It's meant to look like animation.
Yeah.
All
right.
And this is why we always say, what do they say? Right tool for the right job, right? You don't use CG for a whole scene. You use CG to augment whatever scene you're doing. And if there is something you really can't do physically, well, then yeah, but
Hold on.
Again, use it as sparingly as possible.
It's mocap. I think early mocap tends to look weird nowadays. I think the reason behind that was they used to tell the actors, hey, jump around and, wave your arms around. That's not how people operate. I think they were doing that because they could do it. They complain about that with a lot of motion capture in video games, like the Last of Us that came out. There was a complaint about how, people are jumping around and stuff because they use a real actor. But just because you can have a actor does that doesn't mean the character should be doing that in a drama, because people don't do all the herky-jerky motions and do weird stuff while they're walking around, right?
Yeah.
I think that's maybe that's what that's referring to. Classic animation aged like fine wine, early CGI aged like beer. Yes, but at some point I am going to talk about the Mind's Eye for good old days. Remember the Mind's Eye videotapes?
Yeah.
All right. Anything left on this? Keep your fingers crossed. No, we may have to wait for Lucas to die before we get the original theatrical editions, but I could see Lucasfilm for the 50th anniversary putting it back out on DVD. What do you think? No?
I don't know. Well, see, one of the biggest problems is that we don't know what the agreement is between George Lucas and
I heard it was like a handshake, but nothing.
I have absolutely no idea.
I think Abrams mentioned it in an interview. It's more like it was like a, what do you call it? Like a gentleman's agreement. They wouldn't release the original theatrical versions. This is a rumor I heard. Okay, but I don't think it's set in stone, right?
I have no idea. See, it depends on what they have in writing. There may be a writer that says they literally don't have the rights to do it. I don't know. But if it's Disney's side that doesn't want it released, they're just leaving money on the table. They're really missing out. Bull crap on how much it would cost to upscale this. This is something that
people would buy it.
Pay for. People will pay for it.
And they know people will buy it. They know people will buy it.
That it's out there. They know it's easily obtainable. The upscales of the original theatrical releases of Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi are all out there, very easily attainable.
This is what I've heard about traditional 35mm movies. Most of them can be converted to close to 4K. They made an argument with the original Ghostbusters, how original Ghostbusters could meet close to 4K. Not quite 4K, but close enough they could make a 4K edition, like 3.75K or whatever, like, because it used practical effects. And you can do a lot with practical effects. They say that CG, on the other hand, a lot of those early Marvel movies like Iron Man, the CG would have to be completely redone to get true 4K in a lot of the action sequences. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't know.
They didn't do 4K for the CG sequences. They only did regular HD. The original theatrical versions would be a special feature on the holiday special DVD. Funny man.
Yeah, that's actually one that they really should consider releasing.
CluuStudio, were they 70mm? That's interesting. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. I don't know if they could have sprinted for that with the original though, but maybe I'm wrong. Some Batman news.
Yep. I'm not sure I'm really fired up about it, but
do you feel this movie is saying to us, I'm not dead yet, I'm getting better?
They're definitely trying to keep the hope alive.
Okay. Matt Reeves completes the Batman 2 script. The script is done. What the heck was taking them so long? Matt Reeves and Mattson Tomlin have completed the script for the Batman 2 more than 3 years after the first filming starring Robert Pattinson came out in theaters. The pair shared a blurred black and white photo of the script with a bat on the cover, which under the fuzzy title seems to say The Batman Part 2. Reeves captioned the post, which is a collab share with writer Tomlin, partners in crime, parentheses fighters. Okay. He also tweeted the photo and tagged Tomlin. The caption cleverly alludes to Robin, who did not appear in the first film. The sequel was first announced in April 2022 on the heels of the first film's March 4th theatrical re-release, which starred Colin Farrell as Oz the Penguin, Zoe Kravitz as Selina Kyle, Jeffrey Wright as Lieutenant James Gordon, John Turturro as Carmine Falcone, Paul Dano as the Riddler, Andy Serkis as Alfred, and more. This news of the script's completion comes just ahead of the arrival of James Gunn and Peter Safran's Superman, which will herald in the new DC universe. Gunn responded to fans' complaints online of the delay of the script, telling them to be patient in different words. Listen, we're supposed to get a script in June, he told Entertainment Weekly. I hope that happens. We feel really good about it. Matt's excited. I talk to Matt all the time. I'm totally excited about it. So we can't wait to read the scripts, and we haven't read it yet, if that's your question. People should get off Matt's nuts, because it's like, let the guy write the screenplay in the amount of time he needs to write it. Gunn continued. I'm sighing at Gunn, not you. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. He doesn't owe you something because you like his movie. I mean, you like his movie because of Matt. So let Matt do things the way he does. What is he talking about?
No idea. The
Batman Part 2 will arrive in theaters October 1st, 2027. Reeves' first film made $369.3 million domestically and $772 million worldwide at the box office. The feature also led to the HBO Max series The Penguin, the third most watched HBO or Max debut season around the world, following The House of the Dragon and The Last of Us. Okay. Any thoughts?
Yeah, Okay, so I have a couple thoughts. First, they've got a script. Hooray! Whoop-de-doo. Until they actually start filming, the movie isn't happening. You know, it's just not. I'm not saying it's not happening. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying that, this doesn't mean it's, absolutely for sure. They haven't started rolling film yet.
Can I make a prediction?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dick Grayson Robin will be the villain.
Yeah, could be.
What's the worst thing they could do? That's what I thought.
Well, they could have a line where he just says F Batman, right?
No, they did that already. That. Okay. So I shouldn't have interrupted you. Go ahead.
The other thing that I was going to say is that, again, is this going to jive with the Gunnverse Batman, or is this going to be the Gunnverse Batman?
No.
Or exactly my problem. And they really cannot afford this because they already have so much riding on the Gunnverse. They don't need brand confusion. They don't need multiple timelines going at the same time. This is poison to what they have enough problems with the Gunnverse.
This is what I think. I think they are contractually obligated to at least try to get to as long as Matt Reeves is upholding. I think they have to be able to make this, and because of contracts, unless they could buy out a contract, maybe. Because I think something was set in stone. Because you're right, it does not make any sense to continue on with this, or to start a new Gunnverse while you still have other DC stuff floating around.
Given that, I'm going to make a new prediction then.
Mm-hmm.
If Superman does well enough, they'll buy him out, and this movie will never happen.
That could happen. If this movie Superman does badly, they'll probably still need this movie around. They have nothing to lose.
They may as well. Yeah.
James Gunn should pull the plug on this movie because we don't need two different versions of Batman on the big screen at the same time. Yeah, well, that's what we're getting.
But he doesn't have the leverage right now. They're still trying to hedge their bets.
Appreciate Gunn allowing this guy to do his thing. I think Gunn doesn't have a choice.
Have a choice in the matter. Yeah, it's not his call.
And I'm telling you, half the baristas in Starbucks have a script. Yes, well, in LA they do. Yes.
Well, that is true. Yeah.
That used to be the old thing. You used to be able to write spec scripts. Unfortunately, I think we do a story on that a few years ago, or did I forget that? You used to be able to write spec scripts, and Hollywood just does not take them anymore. James Cameron was able to earn a living early on in his career just by writing scripts on spec and sending them to studios. And what would happen is the studios would buy the spec script. Now, they wouldn't necessarily make the movie, but they had it in a backlog. Think about it. There are probably a bunch of James Cameron scripts that never got made into movies. Right?
True.
I like the first one. I'm going to kind of whatever if this doesn't release. Well, I think they've taken too long, especially with the Penguin series. They got momentum back with that Penguin series because, I'll say this. Colin Farrell does for the Penguin kind of what Heath Ledger did for the Joker, in my opinion. I mean, whatever you think of the series itself, I think he did a fantastic performance. But anyway, more interesting news, and this might be interesting to you. my co-host.
Yes, it is. It is.
This is very interesting. Universal Studios to open immersive horror experience in Chicago.
Yep.
Universal Studios is bringing a new horror-themed entertainment venue to Chicago, set to take over a vacant building across from the future Bally's Casino. Called Universal Horror Unleashed, this immersive attraction will transform 700 W West Chicago Ave into a world-class horror attraction and entertainment destination, city officials announced Thursday. This is interesting because I think we did a story a little while back about them doing something similar for Las Vegas, right?
Yep.
Guests can experience terrifying mazes, unforgettable scares, theme bars, and unique food and beverage offerings, and a retail space featuring exclusive merchandise, according to a news release. Chicago will be the second Universal Horror Unleashed location and the first Universal attraction in the Midwest. The first Universal Horror Unleashed is set to open in August in Las Vegas. The Las Vegas location features film quality haunted houses inspired by classic Universal monsters and horror hits such as The Exorcist and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as well as a haunted house featuring Universal's classic monsters properties. Universal owns classic horror characters including Frankenstein's monster, the Mummy, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, Count Dracula, and the Phantom of the Opera. The Chicago location will follow a similar motto, delivering fear all year in a city they call a perfect match for the genre, said Paige Thompson, president. Is that a compliment to Chicago? I'm sorry. President, New Ventures, Universal Destination Experiences. The project has been in the works since October 2024 and is expected to generate more than $1 billion in economic impact and create 400 permanent jobs, Johnson said. This project and redevelopment will also uplift and revitalize this dynamic neighborhood when completed, Mayor Brandon Johnson said. I'm very excited about this announcement. I have no doubt that fans of this genre will flock to our city for these memorable experiences. Construction is slated in early 2026 after design plans are finalized and permits secured. The attraction is tentatively scheduled to open in 2027. So in a way, this sounds like a miniature inside amusement park.
Yes. That is.
I'm curious, will this only operate at night or will it also operate during the day?
It'll operate during the day. There's no reason it has to operate only at night.
I live in Florida, and we have Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios. And what happens is you go to the park during the day, and then at night they transform the park into Halloween Horror Nights, and it's meant to be a nighttime event. You're supposed to go. I forget how long it runs for. It runs to late in the morning or something, or maybe not super late in the morning. But you go there for a few hours, and you get these really cool mazes. Like, you know how like you might go to like your local fire department might put on a horror maze, and you know, good for them, and they do good stuff. But the Universal mazes, they're like that, but like even with a bigger budget. Do you understand?
Yep.
And the mazes are based on different things. Sometimes it's original ideas. Like one I went to was the it's like it's Christmas time, and the van from the mental institution is broken down, and the inmates have escaped in this town on Christmas Eve.
Right.
So that's one theme. But another theme might be Universal Horror Dracula's Castle, based on, you know, the Bela Lugosi Dracula. Another might be An American Werewolf in London one year. I told you I was fascinated by that maze because I'm like, are we going to walk into a certain movie theater from that movie? You know what movie theater I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And you do walk into one of the segments is that movie theater, and I'm hearing the noises of the grunting, if you know what I mean. And then I look over at the screen and it's blurred. I'm like, darn it! It's like, you know, it's.
Yeah.
But it was funny that they went to that much trouble of recreating An American Werewolf in London in this maze.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep.
See, Florida's got a natural amusement park. You guys got murder lizards.
Well, that is true. That is absolutely true.
We
But
have lots of horrible creatures in this state.
well, yeah, but you got nothing on Australia. But yeah,
that's true.
I will take exception with the idea of horror fans flocking to the city for this. I am local and I won't be going. I will take Netter to Epic Universe in Florida in 2026.
You'd rather fly out to Vegas and do the horror thing out there.
or I'd take her to Vegas. The city of Chicago has become such a cesspool crap hole that I won't be going.
Well, could this be an effort to try and revitalize the city and make it less that way? Like if this stuff generates money, you know, tourism, they can put that money into more police.
Don't even get me started. Okay. Brandon Johnson is an idiot. So that is not happening. His constituents have vehemently turned on him. He will not be winning the next election. He will not be the mayor after the next election.
I'm sure if it's a Republican in there, they'll support these projects while also hopefully cleaning up.
It won't be, because there is no longer a Republican Party in the city of Chicago.
Because the dead
it will be another
Chicago.
Democrat. It'll probably be someone just as bad as Brandon Johnson. It'll just be a different name, and nothing's going to change.
The Harry Potter experience on Michigan Avenue. I guess they have a Harry Potter experience there in Chicago right now too. All right. Well, anyway, but the thing is, though, you can go to the one in Vegas as well. In Florida, we're now getting alligator Alcatraz. Really?
Yes, I heard about that.
I need to look into this now. You just have to have a prison surrounded by gators, and you're fine. Okay.
That actually does sound like a great idea.
I don't think I can. I can put a link in your thing.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
I
hope I made you a wrench on my channel.
It's the story at X, and this guy is going, this is just too funny. It's like, basically, some people looked at all the swampland in Florida and went, that looks like a good place for a detention center with all the murder lizards and snakes and what have you. And it's like, I'm trying to figure out how to... copy video address. Got it. Okay, I'm going to post it in the private chat if I can figure out how to do that. Where's the private chat?
We have a road in Florida known as Alligator Alley. I've never driven down it. I've been too afraid.
Come on, why aren't you posting? Never mind. I'll just put it in each of our chats so people can just watch the vid.
That's fine.
Funny as all get out.
I'll drive down Alligator Alley, and my car will break down in the middle of the night, and then I'll be like, "Hello, I can't get a signal out here," and then chomp. Okay, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So the link I just dropped, they're talking about this detention center in the middle of the swamps. It's flippin' hilarious.
Florida is its own creepy state. All states have their creepy moments. Florida's is horrible, wild creatures that do not like you.
Oh, did I post the link wrong?
No.
Oh,
I was just bringing it. Oh, it's a video. I'm not gonna share this.
You can find it on X. All right. You click on that link.
Yeah, that's why I posted the link.
Yeah.
Thank you. But anyway, though, Universal Studios. What do you think, huh? I mean, it sounds interesting. Maybe they'll make them around other big states too. Maybe Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, I think that's absolutely the idea. If they're doing it Chicago and Las Vegas, they're definitely doing it at the park in Florida, I'm sure. So
casinos are actually a good venue because that's usually adult clientele. Adults. These Halloween Horror Nights is not made for kids. It's an adult venue.
Right.
It's they used to do the Bill and Ted show each year. I don't know if they still do. That was always funny because they would have Bill and Ted, and they would be lampooning the movies that came out this year, and Bill and Ted would be on the show. Denis Villeneuve directing next James Bond movie.
Yeah, I mean, could be good.
This isn't I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you.
Maybe I should give the guy more credit. He made my favorite sequel of all time, which was Blade Runner 2049. I still love that movie. Okay,
agreed.
But Denis Villeneuve is set to direct the next James Bond film for Amazon MGM Studios. The studio announced Wednesday. Amy Pascal and David Heyman will produce, as previously announced, with Tanya LaPointe executive producing. Villeneuve has been rumored to be one of the high-profile directors being looked at for the project, alongside the likes of Edgar Wright, Edward Berger, Jonathan Nolan, and Paul King. Oh, Jonathan Nolan, I believe brother of Christopher Nolan. Okay. Right. Earlier, the sense was that Alfonso Cuarón, a frequenter collaborator of producer Hyman, might be taking the gig. The Bond directing gig has been the most closely watched in town ever since Amazon MGM acquired full creative control of the franchise in February, an historical deal with longtime producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, resulting in a new joint venture. The studio gained distribution rights to Bond with the acquisition of MGM Studios for $8.5 billion in 2022, but has not been able to get a new film off the ground. Presumably, given the differences with the franchise's previous stewards, there hasn't been a new Bond since Daniel Craig wrapped up his time with the franchise with No Time to Die in the fall of 2021. The hiring of Bill Villeneuve comes as a bit of a shock, given that he'll be tied up for foreseeable future with his third and final Dune film for Warner Brothers and Legendary Entertainment, which is shooting this summer and slated for release December 16th, 2026. He's been working on that franchise in some capacity since 2017, having released the first film in 2021, and has been linked to projects in development, including Cleopatra, an adaptation of Arthur C. Clarke's classic sci-fi novel Rendezvous with Rama, and Nuclear War, a Scenario, an adaptation of the work of nonfiction by Annie Jacobson, on which we were first to report. What is Nuclear War Scenario? That doesn't sound pleasant. At the same time, the 4-time Oscar nominee has demonstrated with his work on Dune that films that he's exactly kind of visionary who should be mounting a Bond. At a time when the future of the franchise is uncertain, a filmmaker with great taste and epic sensibility who knows how to make franchise feel fresh. His 2 Frank Herbert adaptations to date have been both critical and commercial successes, garnering 8 Oscars from 15 nominations and grossing over $1.1 billion worldwide. Prior to Dune, the Canadian director helmed a sequel to Ridley Scott's sci-fi classic Blade Runner for Warner Brothers, seeing Blade Runner 2049 score 2 Oscars from 5 nominations and draw critical raves as it underwhelmed commercially with $267 million worldwide. I partially blame that on the Me Too movement breaking out, the Harvey Weinstein thing breaking out that week, and I think people were mad at Hollywood when that happened. Statement on his new project, Villeneuve said, "Some of my earliest movie-going memories are connected to 007. I grew up watching James Bond films with my father ever since Dr. No with Sean Connery. I'm a diehard Bond fan. To me, he's sacred territory. I intend to honor the tradition, open the path for many new missions to come. This is a massive responsibility, but also incredibly exciting for me and a huge honor. Amy, David, and I are absolutely thrilled to bring him back to the screen. Thank you, Amazon MGM Studios, for their trust." Here's how I'm going to look.
That's what he says. We'll see.
This is how I'm going to look at this. I am not going to be excited, but I'm also not going to decry this yet. We'll see.
Hope for the best, but
prepare for the worst.
Well, we got to prepare for the worst.
It's Villeneuve. He is a great director. I'm not going to say he's not. Mm-hmm. I mean, I my ears perked up with Christopher Nolan, but Villeneuve is also a good choice. We'll see. If it's bad, it's bad. What can you do? Okay, but I think the casting, though, is probably going to make or break this movie, and I want to know who they have in mind for Bond and the other characters. I also want to know, are they adapting one of the original novels? Are they doing something original?
Right. Yeah, we haven't got enough information to start getting hyped yet, but I think that's the point, right? They're giving us what they got so far, and what they got is Denis Villeneuve, and they want you to get excited about that. So,
it can't be worse.
Oh, don't say that. Don't put that out in the universe. Don't put that out in the universe.
I mean, how?
There's plenty of ways, I'm sure. Just when you think it can't get worse, it tends to.
Rendezvous with Rama is not happening. Not with Villeneuve anyway. They pushed it back too many times. Okay, so that's a development hell movie.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
It might have been a good project for him too. All right, moving on to, that's it. It's big that they announced a director. There are worse directors they could have picked, so, absolutely. He is a great director. He directed 2 of my favorite movies of the last decade, which were, what was it? What was the other one? There was Blade Runner 2049, and the one that began with an S. Superio? Well... Never mind. My brain is Swiss cheese. I'll be dribbling in a year. Okay, I don't know what to tell you. Moving on to some updates on Alec Baldwin. We figured we'd do this because Deleted Scenes was doing a rewatch of Rust earlier today, right? Yes. So,
right.
Rust crew settles lawsuit against film producer Alec Baldwin in fatal shooting. This just came in over the weekend. A settlement has been reached in the civil lawsuit alleging negligence in the fatal shooting of a cinematographer on the set of the Western movie Rust, according to courtroom documents released Friday. The lawsuit was brought by 3 Rust crew members seeking compensation for emotional distress from producers of Rust, including Alec Baldwin as co-producer and lead actor. The civil suit accused producers of failing to follow industry safety rules, allegations they denied. Terms of the settlement are not available. Attorneys for the Rust producers and plaintiffs could not immediately be reached by phone or email. Plaintiffs to the lawsuit include Ross Eye.G.O, a frontline crew member who witnessed at close range the fatal shooting of Helena Hutchins at close during a rehearsal on October 2021 on the film set ranch on the outskirts of Santa Fe. A charge of involuntary manslaughter against Baldwin was dismissed at trial last year on allegations that police and prosecutors withheld evidence from the defense. Separately, Russ armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed was convicted of involuntary manslaughter and completed an 18-month sentence in May. Prosecutors accused Gutierrez Reed of unwittingly bringing live ammunition on set and failing to follow basic gun safety protocols. Baldwin was pointing a gun at Hutchins during a rehearsal on a movie set outside Santa Fe when the revolver went off, killing Hutchins and wounding director Joel Souza. Eye E.G.O testified at Gutierrez Reed's trial and appeared before the grand jury that indicted Baldwin. The filming of Rust was completed in Montana. The Western was released in theaters in May. Settles lost. They settled out of court. Then is that what happened here?
That's what it sounds like. Yes.
Okay, so probably for an undisclosed amount of money, perhaps. Sicario, thank you. Deleted scenes. That was the other villainy movie.
Yes. There you go.
I need to. That's something I have to do this summer. I have to watch the sequel that I never watched, Sicario: Day of the Soldado. Okay, which was a prequel. He's a good choice. The casting will be. Oh, you mean for the other thing? Deleted scenes. Maybe it's too fresh in your head for you to have a concrete opinion. Did you like Rust though? I'm curious. I mean, the movie has all this horrible stuff around it, but that doesn't mean the movie itself was bad, right?
Right.
I don't know. It's a movie that I don't know I want to watch anytime soon though, because it seems to have some bad juju around it. Oh, have a good night.
Not only that, Alec Baldwin has become to me like Jane Fonda. I will not see any of their movies ever, ever, ever.
He's a bit of an. Just hearing him talk, it's like he's not quite right. I got the I wanted to see the John Frankenheimer movie Seconds, right? Which is from the 1960s, and there's an interview with Alec Baldwin. Like, well, he wasn't in this movie, but I was watching. I'm thinking, no, he's just rambling. I don't, because I guess he knew John Frankenheimer well because before he died, the director.
Okay.
But I don't know. Do you know what the movie Seconds is about? It's about a man that leaves his, decides to, he's offered the chance to get plastic surgery and take on a new identity and leave his old life, and he turns into Rock Hudson.
Oh, for crying out loud. Okay.
It's a weird movie. It's a very weird movie. It's from the 1960s.
I guess, yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to tell you about it later. And our final story of the night, I wanted to end with some decent news for a change. I think this is super cool. McDonald's new Happy Meal features a toy fans have been begging for. McDonald's is absolutely on a roll this summer with Happy Meal releases. Just a matter of days after the restaurant unveiled a new Happy Meal toys for the Disney film Elio, they've announced yet another exciting meal. Starting on July 1st, fans of McDonald's will be able to get their hands on all new Little McDonald's Happy Meal. The new Happy Meal includes an assortment of mini toys inspired by the restaurant. Among the adorable options are a miniature Boo Bucket, Happy Meal box, cash register, and restaurant booth. A McDonald's Happy Meal has always been more than just a meal. It's a joyful tradition that creates lasting memories for both kids and adults alike, said Anna Engel, Director of Marketing, Brand, Content, and Culture for McDonald's USA in a statement. As a parent, there's something magical about watching your child's imagination come to life with these tiny toys. That's what makes Little McDonald's so special. It brings back my childhood memories of playing McDonald's, and now I get to create new ones with my kids. Although Little McDonald's Happy Meals were meant for the little ones, fans of all ages are eager to get their hands on one toy in particular. The Mini Boo Bucket, an Instagram post shared by the Freebie Guy, is filled with messages from customers ready to snatch up the tiny bucket. I need that little Boo Bucket in a way I cannot explain, read one comment. A little Boo Bucket, another person chimed in. Others are just impressed overall with the Happy Meal and its collection of nearly 24 toys. Now, that's a toy I'd like to get my kids Happy Meals, not that garbage of toys they've been giving out lately, one person pointed out. Will you be picking up a Little McDonald's Happy Meal for yourself? No judgment here, or your little ones next month. Let me show you a picture of them.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's like they're all miniature versions of toys of past.
Yeah.
So you have the Boo Bucket. I'm wondering too if in here is one of those. I remember in the 80s they had the McDonald's Transformer toys with like the milkshake that would turn into a robot and things like that.
Well, what I'm seeing there specifically are representations of the Happy Meal. So I literally, yes, the Boo Bucket. I remember the Boo Bucket. My brother had that. Obviously, the box on the right is represented in miniature in the center there.
Yep.
Looks like there's a little version of the truck, a little version of the restaurant itself, the menu. So it's not just the Happy Meals, but there's a lot of different things that. But
It's
that Boo Bucket looks like it would be just in scale with a Mego action figure. Just saying.
You could get them for like, don't you have some of those Marvel characters that could have a boot bucket in their hand?
Absolutely.
Do you have a Green Goblin a figure? You could have.
I
Them
don't
the boot
still
bucket.
have my original Green Goblin,
That's too bad.
and unfortunately, they effed up the rollout of the re-release of it, so almost nobody got that. So
I hate it when they do that.
screw them.
But
Screw
this looks fun. I might pick up a couple of these. We'll see. And don't forget, you can get chicken nuggets or a cheeseburger or a hamburger with your Happy Meal. So there you go.
Right.
So, and I don't know. They look cute, and
they really do, yeah.
I don't know. I think it's nifty. I think good on McDonald's for this. I actually like to see these because it's almost like a celebration of the Happy Meal itself. These
Right.
are cute. I might get some of them. I still have a box of children's Happy Meal toys. Yeah, I do too. It's funny though. I don't see a miniature version of any of the Batman Returns Happy Meal toys.
All right.
They'd like to forget
right.
that. We did a whole thing. We
Well,
covered Batman
unfortunately,
Returns.
though, they that would probably sell really well, though.
The last time I saw DC themed children's toys wasn't in McDonald's. They did a Burger King had their big kids meal toys, and they were these weird like miniature, like the figures with the big heads, but they weren't those. They were like, and like
Right.
they had a Joker, a Batman. I think they had Superman, Wonder Woman, and Catwoman. I think they had as these weird miniature figures. It's always like these toys; they're not quite there, but they're good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I used to like the Legos you got at McDonald's Happy Meals. I used to remember those, like you could build like a helicopter or something with them. But I like the Transformer ones. They were my favorite when I was growing up. You could turn like your little milkshake into like or like your little fries into a robot. It's basically
Right.
Transformers but for McDonald's food. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty sweet, but that's just me.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
They're supposed to come out with dinosaurs too. I want a Stegosaurus.
Ah, there you
Oh
go.
really? Is that
my
a
favorite Yeah, it's my favorite dinosaur. So I really want them to come out with that. Or I don't know if it's a rumor or they're actually going to do it, but I would love to see a Stegosaurus.
There
That
you
was
go.
my favorite dinosaur as a kid too, Netter. I had a little rubber one with the spikes on the tail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because and I fell in love with Stegosaurus because there was a book I read when I was a small child, and it was about a Stegosaurus. It's called The Shy Stegosaurus,
Oh,
and yeah, and it's like I love that book. In fact, I think I still have a copy of it that I found as an adult, and yeah, I love that book.
I think that they what was it? The Stegosaurus. I think they were herbivores, right? But they would also fight if they had to, as I
Yeah,
recall.
Yeah.
they weren't literally like, but they were similar to armadillos in that they were yeah, they were herbivores, but they had spines down their back and spikes on their tail, and they could probably defend themselves.
Well, the spikes on her tail will also for like breaking up rocks to get at like bushes and things that might have been
Yeah.
out of their reach.
Interesting. Marc Malnekoff, you haven't had a Happy Meal till you've had a Klingon Happy Meal. I imagine instead of fries, there'd be gawk in the fries container. right?
Exactly, exactly right. That's exactly right.
And there'd be
Yes.
like a throwing star as the toy, right? Or some kind of sharp
I should like to think so. Yes.
Okay, this is funny. We had complimented Nate on his new avatar that he did, and I was like, okay, let me see if Grok can create one for me. Even though he didn't do his through Grok, he did it a different way.
Right.
So I asked Grok to draw me as an avatar for Netter's Network. Apparently, Grok thinks I'm a middle-aged Asian man.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay. Yeah,
Very funny.
when Grok first came online, it was doing some pretty good pictures, and now I don't know what it's looking at these days.
Can you imagine a blood pie McFlurry? Instead of Oreo pieces, they break up a blood pie and put it in the McFlurry.
Oh, gee.
God,
I'm
yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
there's
I'm just
raspberry
thinking
jam.
what would a Klingon McDonald's be like? They're franchising it. The first one opens on on the Klingon homeworld, and it's like, but you have to cater it to where you are. So what else would they have there? I'm just thinking. I don't know.
Instead of a Filet-O-Fish, they'd have Pippius Claw.
You'd have a Torg eating Ronald McDonald or something. You know, like I'm sorry. I'm just I don't know. They had a couple Star Trek Happy Meals. I think they had one for Star Trek 2, right when that came out. They had like the Enterprise. I think you get as one of the toys, as I recall.
Yeah.
Now I want McDonald's. Why'd you have to put that in my head? I guess I did. I want a burger.
Yeah.
July 1st is coming up. I'll get a Happy Meal then. I'll get a hamburger. That's it. That's it. No. It's over. No more Geeky Geezers for tonight. We'll have more news next week, probably headlining with the Xbox layoffs. It's going to be horrifying.
Mark dropped the link to the old 79 Klingon Happy Meal ad for Star Trek with the
There was one?
Yes, there was.
Oh, that kicks butt. Okay, I need to watch that.
With the Klingon from Star Trek the Motion Picture. The thing is, he's supposedly speaking Klingonese, and it's being translated by the narrator, but it's absolutely gibberish. I have listened to it, and this was clearly before they had codified
before they established the language yet. Yes.
Well, it was the first actual canonical Klingon words were in the motion picture.
That's true.
And they were created by Jim Doohan.
That's interesting.
Yes, and those words were taken by Dr. Mark Okrand, who was a linguist, and they said, "Can you flesh out a language based on what we've got so far?" And he goes, "Yep, I can do that," and that's what he did, and that's how it started. So now, I think Mark is actually sharing this to remind me. One of the projects that I wanted to do was to write out what he's saying in English and translate it into actual Klingon now.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That might
and then
be fun
translate
to do.
it back, and then you could redub the Klingon in the commercial.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Grok is definitely broken. It keeps drawing me as a middle-aged Asian male.
Well,
I've asked it several different ways. I even put female in there. Use my current image to draw me as an avatar. Draw me as a female avatar. Both times they're showing the same two guys, one slightly younger than the other, but both male and both Asian.
Is there a way to give feedback? Usually they solicit feedback. Say, yeah, it's clearly broken. I am not an Asian man.
They probably used that for the Front Mission 3 remake.
Possibly.
Secret Asian man.
Secret Asian man? You're a secret Asian man. I think I would know after 33 years. There you go.
Now, what is this? Everywhere all at once. That movie, Everything Everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, everybody. I think that wraps us up for this week. Ended a little early tonight, but actually, well, not really early. We're ending on our usual time. Usually, we would go later, but not usually. We've been going later because there's been so much news this week. But I think the July 4th holidays have calmed things down a bit. But we will be back next Sunday. But before then, tomorrow night, do you have something? Actually, tonight, do we have reserved seats going on at the Lead Scene Show?
I actually didn't see one before we went live. So Delete it if you're still in the chat. Let us know if you have a reserved seats tonight so we can forward our audiences to you.
There you go.
But no. As the next thing that I know of is tomorrow night, my members have voted for what movie they would like to watch tomorrow night on Members Night at the Movie. And pretty overwhelming vote. They've decided to take me where the future's lying. St. Elmo's Fire.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a classic. And then we covered that on the 85 stream the other week.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
And, yeah.
And, yeah, so that's Monday at 8 o'clock Central. No, okay, so there is none this week.
Not this week. That's fine.
So 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern, for members only. If you're not a member, please consider becoming a member. It only costs $1.99 per month, and you can join us every Monday for Members Night at the Movie. And during the week, you can vote on what the next movie is we will be watching.
And if you're already a member, would you consider donating a membership to someone else?
Yeah, gifty membership to grow
expand
our little community
Yeah.
here would always be very much appreciated.
Oh, and hello to Zach. I just saw you there.
Hey, Zach.
Oh, Zach.
So that is, let's see. That's Monday. So Tuesday, where are we going to be on Tuesday?
We'll be at Sparkwood 21, I believe, for the rewatch of Lost Highway, and we will be discussing that movie. I'll try to share my own experiences with that movie as well. And
I'm going to try and rewatch it again before then, so I can try to pull.
I
my
remember
thoughts
that was the
together.
one that got panned at the time, and I was never quite sure why. Why does that movie get derided, whereas Mulholland Drive was praised? So I might want to explore that, because are they not the same movie, but I feel like the mood is sort of similar. I don't know. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, there are definitely some similar themes, which I think is exactly what we'll be talking about.
All right. So then later on that Tuesday night, you'll be having Blake 7. Is that right?
Yep. The episode is Sarcophagus. We're on the back half of season 3. This is a Cali heavy episode again. So it's very, very clear that the actress wanted more to do in season 3. And that's why she signed on for a 3rd season. So, join us for the next episode of Blake 7 on my channel at 10 Central sharp.
Cool. All right. And then nothing Wednesday this week, correct?
Nope.
Right.
Nothing to see here. Move along.
And then Thursday on Netter's Network's Thursday Things.
I'm waiting to hear back from 2 people now on if they're available. If not, it'll be me and Troy shooting the breeze, and I invite anyone who wants to, kind of join us, even on the panel, come in and talk. You got something to say? Come on.
All right, sounds good. And then Friday for last call.
You know as well as I do. Yeah.
Friday, yes, we're going to be doing. Hello.
Well, actually, before last call,
okay.
Netter and I are going to try to join Big Al Presents and a number of other guests, potential guests anyway, for a Friday Films with Friends, for a rewatch of the classic pseudo-historical musical 1776.
That's right. That's a classic.
Yes, it is.
And
But then followed by last call at 9 Central, 10 Eastern. What will we be talking about?
we'll be talking about the movies of 1985. We're going to do after summer of 85, what came out. And there are some doozies there, including a cult classic favorite of mine and some other important movies. So we'll be wrapping up our it's not summer of 85, year of 85, a major year for movies. So you'll get to hear our memories. You can catch the other 2 parts. They're on our respective channels as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And real quick, right under the wire, Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips stopped in to say hi. Welcome, Wade. Good to see you. And that brings us to Saturday, where Netter's got the retro cinema.
Yes, and the poll has decided. Whoop, whoop, Dr. Detroit.
Yeah.
Classic.
Originally, it was going to be, it was originally going to be Frozen, and she realized, oh, we forgot Dr. Detroit. We got to watch Dr. Detroit. Well, let me put up a poll and see if people would rather just stick to Frozen or if they want to see Dr. Detroit. And overwhelmingly, people were saying Dr. Detroit. So
Well,
Gotta give the people what they want.
Yeah,
as I've
that's
said,
it.
I know you're going alphabetical order, but Dr. Detroit does have Fran Drescher in it. So there you go.
It
You're
does
still in the
have-
And
FRs.
Dan Aykroyd, who's one of my favorite actors.
Absolutely,
So we've got
absolutely.
8% for Frozen and 92% for replace Frozen with Dr. Detroit.
Absolutely. I think
Just-
92% of her viewers said let it go.
Well, I prefer the alternate take on that Frozen clip with the F word. You know that you should,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
which is really what
I
she's
won't-
saying, isn't it? If we're being honest.
I won't say it, but yes, she
I
basically
want to
is.
say it, but yeah, okay. It's
F it all, F it all.
Don't
Don't
use the word frack.
Well, no, you got to edit it too much. It's the
Yeah,
kind of song
just-
where you really do have to swear. But
it's so funny.
boy, if
Yeah.
you put 3 notes together that are too close to a Disney song, they will hit your channel. So we got to be very, very careful.
Cool. Well, I hope you learned something about Divx tonight. Do you regret not taking part?
Absolutely not. I dodged a bullet there. I'm so glad I didn't.
I was so angry. I think I was 21 at the time, and they were pushing Divx, and I was like, I hate this. I just got a DVD player. I love DVD. Do not screw this up. And I was very anti-Divx. Fortunately, the rest of the customer public of the United States, or at least around the world, followed suit. And please, people, think about this with modern things when they try to rip you off. You know, if something is, if you buy a bad piece of electronics, bring it back to the store. Say you don't want it.
Like your Switch 2.
Well, I don't have a Switch 2 now, do I? Smart
No,
guy.
I hope you don't get one. If you're smart, you won't.
You think I'm lying, and I was one of these guys behind the Best Buy, and I was like literally shaking because like I was going through withdrawals. I says, "Give me the Switch 2, just take my money." I don't know. It was so funny. I was watching a British YouTuber, this lady, and she was like saying, why is young Pauline on Donkey Kong's back? That makes no sense. Why isn't it Diddy Kong? It's supposed to be Diddy Kong." And then she realized, oh, wait, this game's not being made for me anymore because I'm in my 40s now, and I'm not the audience anymore. That's what she thought.
There you go.
Anyway, y'all have a good week, all right?
Take it easy, everyone. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.